Good evening, everybody. Welcome,
Hello.
welcome to the LTA South. Thank you so much for joining us. You may have noticed that it looks a little bit like garbage today, and that's because we sadly do not have our esteemed producer Rose. It is just myself OBSing the heck out of this one. So bear with
Mhm.
us. Thank you all for joining us. My name is Trajan, joined by Roodood here for the LTA playoffs, day number one of what could be our greatest triumph or
Yes.
a consecutive nightmare. What do you think, Rudy? Are we feeling positive today? Where's the energy level
Um,
here?
Today I think we may struggle. I think we've somehow drawn the first seed of the LTA North, and then in the separate game, the strongest team in the LTA North,
Yeah.
in the same day. So we will have to deal with that. How we'll deal. I think that on paper, Payne as our fourth seed, we could probably argue they shouldn't be fourth seed, and that gives us a bit of an advantage over 100 Thieves because
Yeah.
maybe they shouldn't be first seed as well. But to just look at this series specifically, the mid lane I think is where I struggle and where I start to fall a little
Mm.
bit uneasy because Quid has been phenomenal. They're talking MVP form for the LTA North, and I think that Dinka has been inconsistent, has had highs, has equally had some lows, and that's something that we're going to need to address going into this series specifically,
Yeah.
and how that plays out for Pain Gaming.
Yeah, for sure. When we were talking on the podcast this week about this matchup, my worry comes from the mid jungle, right?
Mm.
River and Quid is such a quintessential duo in LTA North, and Karaoke and Dinkado have been the strugglers so far for Pain. It happened at Worlds, and it's not necessarily entirely solved here in the LTA South first split either. So that's where we need to see them try and shore it up. And, in the past, we've seen Dinkado just return to old reliable Aries and Orianas and things of the past. There's a Nocturne Oriana option that might come through at some stage that they've been threatening a lot. But this is the same kind of deal that River and Quid are happy to pull out. So it's a sweaty one. It's a worrying one for
Mm.
this first series between Loud and Pain, between Pain and Hundred Thieves. Just because it feels like we've gone from such a positive high from Pain, getting the championship, going towards making groups, and then we've lost a lot of momentum, and we're kind of back on the struggle bus. And I think the fans are like, we wanted at least like half a split of
Yeah.
excitement, guys. Can we get back to winning again? Because we were really starting to enjoy that.
And they started off like that. They got themselves a
Yeah.
decent win over Loud to begin with, and
Yeah.
then lost to them in the BO1 afterwards. So it was quite
Yeah.
quite the shaky start, or
Mhm.
nice start into shaky finish for them. And I'm a fan as well of getting a little preview there of the 100 Thieves roster. So if you missed it, Sniper in the top side, we've already addressed River Quid, their mid jungle duo, and then FBI and Ayla down in that bot lane. So some veterancy as well, some definitely newer pieces also to the 100 Thieves roster, and overall they've been working quite well as a unit. And then FBI being their new bot laner coming in has really cemented 100 Thieves as a stable team for the LTA North.
Yeah.
Obviously now we've got Pain Gaming out, large and in charge. We know the LTA South teams, the Pain Gaming roster on your screen, and I think that top lane by extension is somewhere that we could see some success. Wiser has been stable as a top laner and has sort of progressed that into being able to also do some very good carrying. No longer just that stonewall on the top side, but also equally as powerful as a wrecking ball to charge through your team.
Yeah, absolutely. It's Wiser does have something of an impact like energy in LTA South, for to put it in sort of an LTA North context. And this matchup of Wiser into Sniper up in that top side again, quite a volatile top laner for 100 Thieves, an exciting prospect, someone who can do really well, who can crack under pressure. I think Wiser at least has been in this situation a lot of times. He's been to international with Pain in the last split. He's
Yeah.
been in many finals. He's been in a lot of stressful situations, and has been around in Brazil a long, long time. So I have a lot of confidence in Wiser in that top side for sure. And I'm very interested to see how Sniper holds up under that and what that kind of matchup plays through. Is Sniper going to have the confidence and bravado that we've kind of come to expect of him out of top lane, or is this going to be a little much having traveling to Sao Paulo? There's a little bit of an unsettled nature for the LTA North teams coming down to the Brazilian arena.
Yeah, there is that question mark that needs to be answered, I suppose, more than anything. And one of the good things that we need to address as well is the home field advantage that specifically Pain Gaming are going to have. Wherever Pain goes, their fans follow. Fortunately, they've not had to go anywhere, and they are going to be out in force at that arena this evening. So the sort of home crowd advantage. This is a great showcase of what I'm hoping to see a little bit later on from Titan and what he can put out in these team fights. As a duo as well, Titan Curry, no big deal, but they did take down the T1 bot lane in a 2v2. We will never let that die. So they are world championship level as a 2 versus 2. And up against what I think is maybe one of the weaker parts of 100 Thieves, being that bot lane, and more specifically, I suppose, Ayla, the opportunity for Curry to punish is definitely present, and something that I would be looking to for this 100 Thieves roster to make that difference, to really give an advantage in the top and the bot side, so that maybe the mid lane isn't quite as favourable for Pain as we're expecting, but that bot lane, that top lane, we're hoping we can find a win.
Yeah, for sure. Now, we are going to be getting into the draft pretty soon, as we can tell. Everyone's getting set up on the desks. If we're looking as Pain fans here on the LTA South Twitch channel, we're looking to potentially play through top and bot. How are we drafting? How are we prioritizing to make that work? Are we drafting to minimize the mid risk first? Are we locking in a stable jungler? Are we slamming Ashe or Kalista B1? What's the strategy here for us to get off?
I think so. Safe mid lane is the play. So Ari to Leah. The laning of Dinkedo has been pretty decent, right? Mel as well. He had a really solid Mel game just last weekend. So there's definite opportunities for Dinkedo to find some success. But equally, we've seen Dinkedo Yone be banned so many times, and I think that just the comfort that Yone might give him might be quite nice to ease his nerves for game one back at international and cross conference. It's not international, sorry, whatever. It's either way. When the two Americas have started to combine, it's something that Dinkedo's comfort is going to look to be really exaggerated, and I think that by extension bleeds into what Karaoke picks as well. Just if those two can shore themselves up, then it'll be okay.
Yeah, because depth of pool is not a problem that we've ever had for Titan, or really Wiser at this point. There's plenty of options there. And I guess we'd be more happier to leave them later into a draft to face down bans and still have something good to play. So let's see if we're going to focus on that mid-jungle pick for ourselves, as we are heading into the draft. Now, given that 100 Thieves is the first seed, I believe that gives them side selection, and they have chosen blue, as is the general strategy of teams on this pack. So getting into bans right now, and there's a lot of top lane bans, I will say. I dare say all 4 of them. And then 5 Sarna makes it out.
Interesting. So remember, this is on live patch, so this is 25.1.3, where Skarner did receive some nerfs, but I was talking about this a little bit on the LPL this morning. The nerfs meant nothing. This champ is still going to be incredibly high prio, and you should expect to see it be picked or banned pretty consistently in these series. Now, Cassante taken as the opener, the Varus and the Zyra lock-in, so we're completely detracting from the idea of keeping Dinkedo nice and safe, but already for Pain Gaming, a very good poke composition, and for 100 Thieves now, their job is to pivot. They need to also try and match range. You don't want to engage onto a Zyra. You don't want to be full sending into this pick where really, if you go too far forward, you just get chewed out by the plants.
Yeah, so there's if both Titan and Karaoke are able to survive that initial burst, they have great damage to throw back, but we now have a Sejuani Yone locked in. So if we're talking good mid-jungle duos, I'm pretty scared right now, I'll be honest, Roodood. Yeah. How are we managing this risk? Now, we've got the Zyra. What's coming mid?
So with Zyra, you typically only look to take AD solo laners, AD Varus already locked in. Opportunity for them to go for this double marksman. So Zeri, Corki have popped their way back into the mid lane meta, and wouldn't be surprised to see. I've seen a couple of those, unfortunately. The Corki gets locked in for Dinkedo, so nice and safe as well. He's got that Valkyrie, and now you're looking at really what top lane picks can you look to really snub Sniper on. There's an opportunity where these lane swaps are probably going to come out regardless, where Sniper struggles a little bit in that side lane, same to be said for Wiser. So we could end up just seeing tank versus tank on that top side, and by extension, I do favour 100 Thieves because of all the bans that have happened so far. They've somehow found themselves one of the supreme tier tanks that we still got left in the draft, and we know as an LTA South fan base what Cassante can do, how crazy he can be.
It is a tough one. It is a tough one to do. It took us a long time to learn this champion down in the LTA South and previously the CBLOL, but we got there eventually, and then it started really becoming an issue very quickly. So it looks like Pain, we're focusing on the AD carry bans. Kai'Sa and Ezreal removed, of course, both the AD and bot laner and support, I should say, from 100 Thieves, yet to be picked. And it's more top lane bans from 100 Thieves. The classic Wiser Gnar taken away. I'm trying to think of other bad matchups into Cassante, at least.
It's just Jax from Wiser, yeah.
And the Jax taken away. So those last two really being kind of the Wiser specialties, is the Gnar and the Jax. So now we need to see what the answer is. Is it just going to be the return of the Wiser Malphite double tanking it up? Is it going to be an Ornn? Is it going to be an Olaf? I have no idea what we're going to see with Wiser now.
I dare say something that can survive a side lane and can survive a lane swap quite effectively is what they should be looking for. Instead, as we don't talk about Hovers Rude, they get locked in. We have opted into a very squishy top lane pick that can be dove, right? When we've got the likes of Sejuani, Cassante, Yone, there's a lot of ability to apply that permafrost, find CC and take down the Aurora, and probably not all that much leverage at trying to get kills back as well. So definitely a gamble from Pain in this game, number one that we might like to see pay off, but so far they have got zero frontline, and I think that this Ashe pick just skyrocketed in value, where you look at the enemies and you're thinking, I could ult you, or you, and this is all going to be really good because I'm taking a carry regardless. So for Pain now, some really hyper tank bot lane support pick, but again, talking about hyper tanks, they don't really exist in the support role. Your best bet's a Tahm Kench, but even then, you do kind of have to sacrifice a little bit of your lane to pick that champion, and they go for more engage, more damage, more ability to team fight, and they're going to have to stick to it.
Yes, so we have wound up. So 100 Thieves have double tank, Ashe, engage, Yone follow up,
yes,
Khan ult. So they have great engage, great tankiness, great resilience, and I mean, I guess you could say not the highest damage, right? Yone is really the only scaling damage threat. Cassante kind of turns into one, but again, the Cassante ulting into a fight to find yourself on a Zyra ult is not going to be good. You'll get knocked up and you'll get dropped down pretty quickly. So the only thing 100 Thieves doesn't have is a whole lot of damage. Pain does not have, as you say, any frontline at all, and it's not even hugely mobile, necessarily, the damage they have. Aurora needs to be tricky with the ult movement, perhaps, to get them out, and then Corki has 1W, has a Valkyrie to use. So this, I think, is demanding a lot of Pain, and I am worried about that.
I'll allow the worry. I think it's a valid concern. I do think as well it's worth thinking about how the team fights need to play out. And if Pain Gaming sort of, I'll just say it how it is, if they spread themselves thin in a team fight, they might be okay because, Yone, his ulti, ideally not everybody's getting hit by that. That'd be perfect. And then you can start to focus the Yone as he goes in. Sejuani as well, pretty decent in those narrow choke points to get multiple people with the slow of the ulti. But again, if Pain are playing in open spaces, if they're allowing the Thieves to come into them, it's worth saying that the Zyra, again, can do very well at teams that engage onto you. As long as you get the ulti down, you're happy as the Zyra, because your plants go crazy. So it's definitely not lost for Pain by any capacity. It does require a high barrier of execution, and when they're coming in as the underdogs, that scares me.
Yes, so this is a time for a statement for Pain up against the first seeds from LTA North. 100 Thieves surprised everybody by making out in first place, I think it's fair to say, and Pain Gaming surprised everybody by only coming out in fourth. It is a very interesting matchup in this first round. Could have been the same, but with the opposite seeds flipped, and maybe would have expected this to happen as we head on to Summoner's Rift. So, at the level 1, both teams spread out across the way. Both, have decent ways to try and go for an aggressive move early on. The Ashe and the Rakan, very deadly. You can see FBI and Ayla taking an aggressive position. Titan standing and fighting has to flash at level 1. So, not sure what the plan
this
is.
might now make Pain lane swap and sort of give a... Oh, he's going to walk into Ayla again. Hold on.
Again,
Hold on.
Do we have assistance to heal us there?
Summon a heal.
Desperately trying to get in there. FBI is committing to the kill. Flashes away. Will the Ashe get away with this one? I think they probably will. It's a nightmare for Pain to kick us off in the game number 1.
And Dinkedo started W as well, so all of his trading at level 1 with the Gatling gun is Completely gone also. First blood over to FBI. Goes back to base, picks up, okay, a dagger as opposed to the boots, which would have honestly been a little bit more intimidating. But looks like it's actually going to be 100 Thieves that initiate this lane swap. Whether they're predicting that would be the case from Pain or not, they're the ones that head up to this top side. And looks like Sniper once again going to be left a little bit in the lurch on his own, and Quid for the time being as well, being slightly zoned away from what is an attempt to zone away creeps.
Okay, Sniper is going to take a fair bit of damage from Titan and Curry right here. Let's shake it off, everybody. Shake it off, Pain fans. We knew something like this was bound to happen, okay? We're getting all the stress out the way first. Titan gives away first blood. At least FBI had to use his own flash to get it over the line, we shall say, as we cope ourselves back to life. Right?
Yeah.
So we have this same mid and top both chilling in mid lane that we've seen in the LTA South quite a bit. Ayla's currently sitting around to make sure Quid doesn't suffer. You can see the tri-lane split right here. And we won't really know who the winner is until this shakes out over the next few minutes, assuming nobody gets caught and dies on a rotation. It does take a moment to see where the plates fall and where the gold advantages build up.
Yeah, and it really comes down to experience as well. I think that the sort of rat race for which top laner can get the most XP becomes the most palpable advantage, because at some stage these lanes are going to swap back, and that's when you get to see sort of how that early game has panned out. Looks like Wise is going to be able to pick up a large majority of this experience again on his own. We're saying though, Sniper got the same treatment in that bot lane. Dinkedo as well on this level 2 now, so he's got an extra spell that he can actually utilize quite aggressively to trade with. But Curry unfortunately spotted on a ward here, not going to be able to make the most of this situation, as Quid is not stepping up far enough to be caught out. And when you get to see these grubs spawn in a couple of minutes time, Drake spawns in, minute and a half or so, that's where your first play for objectives happens. And when we tend to see these lane swaps alter back, for the moment, no real advantage anywhere other than, weirdly enough, mid lane and for Dinkedo.
Yes, so an attempt by Curran to mid lane, a little look-see, and now, despite the W level 1, the Gatling gun has now been acquired and is shredding down Quid in that melee matchup, as we would expect. River, though, on the top side, this 100 Thieves mid-jungle that we were worried about, Karaoke is there to cover again on the same vision. If they go for the dive, this is going to get hairy very quickly. Dinkedo's trying to bait it in, but does this 2v2 build up in the right way? Plant comes out, River still checking to see if there's more to be found here. Quid hanging back, not wanting to throw his life away. And this featured matchup now committed by River. Valkyrie over the wall. The damage coming back is going to be decent. The Sejuani drops very low. Quid looks for the knock-up, does find it, has the flash, but doesn't commit as Sniper has found his way onto Titan. The cleanse comes out from the Varus, but who is winning this? Out comes the E, the autos are flying, and Titan! The redemption begins as the solo kill arrives. No kills drop down in mid lane. They seem to have broken apart, but I'll be honest, Pain actually managed that one pretty darn well, guys.
Yeah, just the sort of give and take of that mid lane 2v2, who knows what, and who's actually baiting who in. TP for Dinkedo means he's going to be able to get back to that mid lane and absorb the majority of this experience. A little bit of time wasted for River as well. As you know, the Zyra's going to clear faster than the Sejuani. Still hasn't even taken a recall. Looks like Karaoke's going to go for an entire second full clear before he actually makes his base come through. Goes back now, but he's going to have tier 2 boots off the back of that, and now the rotate comes through for Pain, and Titan now with his flash, which is going to be up in a couple of seconds time, going to be quite happy in this 1v1. So take a look at this. There's a really niche interaction again. So Sniper looks for this fight. Titan really good at blight stacking, but as soon as the stun comes through, Titan cleanses it, and it means that Sniper misses one of the crucial and tofu strikes. Second one goes wide on the bottom side here. You'll see Sniper just missing out on one of the Qs. Just a great backstep by Titan. 2 crucial abilities dodged, and the AD card gaming comes out on top.
And the crowd goes wild. The pay. Oh my goodness, FBI! The 2v2!
Another one?
It is! You're not Gumayushi, you're not Carrier, you can't stand up. Titan and Curry continue the redemption story. Now 2 kills in Titan's pocket as they crash in this wave. River coming around the corner, Karaoke waiting in the wings to see if he is required. But Titan and Curry, they've already got the job done.
And this is exactly what we were hoping for as LTA South enjoyers, that Titan Curry would be able to stand toe-to-toe, both with Ayla and FBI, but equally moving into the mid-game as well, having this advantage. How well can they stand up? Because for the moment, Pain Gaming have got the advantage. They are about 500 gold to the good, small advantages in the majority of lanes, but with the play that they make on that top side, They lose out on a little bit too much HP. They can't contest for those grubs. And it does give over the first objective of the game to the Thieves. Now, this is how that fight all started out. And Titan goes forward. Great flash over the grand entrance from Ayla. And they know that FBI doesn't have flash because he burned it at that level 1 to take down Titan. It's such good monitoring of those summoner spells, and the timing on it was perfect.
My men just walked at him and got the kill. The Grubs camp picked up by 100 Thieves, so they do have an epic camp to their name. Titan and Curry going to run into this pig in the river and trying to get back to the tower without a lot of summoners. The ult actually committed. Flashing by Ayla, looks for the W. Lovely backstep by Titan, but does he have the range?
Another flash.
Now he's got the flash, and that enables the counter kill. So River, knowing the limits, knowing where they can push so well, and has dragged FBI and Ayla back into this matchup. Curry just holding the tower as best as he can. So 100 Thieves slapping back in that top side, keeping it even.
It's a great response from the Thieves in this top lane, and really well executed as far as it goes as well, with double flashes burned by the bot laners to make sure that they do take down Teton. Good little backstep as you mentioned, but unfortunately not enough to get through the sheer amount of CC that Ashe provides on every auto attack that Sejuani provides, period. So right now, Pain move themselves back down to this bot side. Worth mentioning as well that nothing really was lost on the bot side for River spending so much time in that top lane. Karaoke just found his own camps, didn't feel comfortable crossing the threshold of the river, and now 100 Thieves jungler gets to go back in, pick up the rest of his bot side camps, and he's actually out CSing a Zyra, which you will not see.
Yeah, having also fixed the bot lane reversed matchup as well. River showing his class right here in game number 1 as Ayla and Curry meet in that bot side. River, Dinkato, and Quid still trading out in the mid lane. So we have had a comfortably stable mid lane so far, at least, from Dinkato with his Corki. We know he's going to scale up, not suffering at the hands of Quid's Yone, at least to this point. So that is at least a solid start for Pain, as the Dragon getting loosely started by Dinkato, but the Ocean Drake slowing him down on his return to the river, chunks him down as well. Not an ideal situation.
No, and without any fruit there either, means he's going to be a little bit worse for wear in that 1 versus 1, but looks like Pain Gaming straight back to it, starting up this Drake, and River, they saw him cross through mid lane here, so they know what the situation is, where this jungler is going to be, and 100 Thieves, not really about it. They said that they're going to give it up and give the first Drake to Pain Gaming.
They will still pick that one up. 1 epic jungle camp apiece right now. They get some damage and stuns. Straight on to Ayla.
Okay.
In fact, the ult committed, and my guy's just dead. Killed for Karaoke. No respect from the Rakan.
No, and without Merctreads just yet, he is going to be CC'd for quite the while and doesn't quite have the durability to withstand the damage that is coming through from all of those Zyra plants. A great little foreshadowing for what we can expect to see as the game moves later and later, because the plants are going to be the leading source of DPS for Karaoke as well. If you overcommit too much onto the Zyra, they can start to tear you apart. And Pain Gaming moving into this mid-game about even with 100 Thieves, and the way their composition's going to function, they kind of need to be a little bit ahead. Would be looking to see them have a decent advantage by this stage so that they can kind of wallet check the composition that they've drafted for themselves, puts them into a little bit of a hole as they get later on in terms of how easy their composition becomes. Obviously, if you've got a little bit of a gold advantage, the fighting becomes a lot easier.
Yeah, it makes a lot of decisions easier to make when the entire game is skewed in your favor. Dinkato trying to pull this back up, has a TP to head back to mid lane, maintaining more or less parity with Quid. Karaoke is going to not quite run into River, who's just stolen that camp away, so this small advantage continues to maintain in that jungle matchup. We have not really seen hide nor hair of Wiser in this game. My guy's been picking up sideways wherever there is not action going on, but has ended up slightly ahead of Sniper in the reverse matchup right there. So you can see as these lane swaps have panned out, it's a loose, general, marginal advantage for Pain, except in that mid lane. So we're coming out even, which, to be honest, is a solid start for us. And as we go in towards these next camps, into the next Dragon, the next Grub camp, we'll see how these team fights start to pan out. The Zyra ult is going to be big. The Titan Varus ult into Rel as well could be big. But we need to make sure we're not just getting picked off and taken down by the frontliners. Now here we come. Okay. Coming in from Dinkato. Yone not committing just yet as the first grub falls to Karaoke. Has at least spiked the camps of the 100 Thieves.
There's the TP match.
They tried to step away. The ult answer to Curry. That's a pretty decent target. Double root.
Re-engage.
There's the combination. 100 Thieves though. They've got rotations coming in. Quid and FBI trying to do the damage. But here comes Wise with the Aurora ult. The rest of 100 Thieves in full retreat. The double
flash on.
Another kill for Pain.
Another fight on the top side, and Pain Gaming come out on top once again here. 3 groups going to be secured in a 2-for-0. 100 Thieves just not quite able to execute in the 5 versus 5. Quid's ulti doesn't find the marker, and nobody can get onto Titan despite FBI's great arrow, isolating him to begin the fight. Pain Gaming come away with those couple kills, the neutral objective as well. Move into this mid game now with Titan in trouble.
Yeah, I noticed the guy didn't have any summoners and was just kind of hanging out in mid lane. A bit of a goof from our guy down in bot. Unfortunately, we have failed to just take an advantage and walk away with it.
Yeah, and a little bit of a, like you say, a bit of an oopsie. Maybe greeding to try and get that Blade of the Ruin King finished before he goes back to base, but yeah, let's relive the good part. I like this.
Yeah, I like
Have a look at where we were doing well, and River, goes for the ulti, and they're just a little bit desync. So Ashwell hits one, the Sedge ulti hits the other, and then as soon as Curry is un-CC'd, he decides to dive in onto 100 Thieves very well and take down as many as they could. Quid gets double flashed on by Karaoke, by Curry, and it's ended up being the Rel that finds it. But still, a great little team fight for Pain Gaming that hopefully shows greater things to come as we move into the mid game.
Yeah, I mean, as long as we're actually tracking when we have those summoners, Titan, then we can use them to escape from the combination, right? You can kind of footwork and hands check your way out of these situations if you plan it right. And 100 Thieves, yeah, not quite on the ball on the same engaged timers right there, a little desynced as you put it. So we'll see if they can sharpen up or if Pain is going to keep splitting the focus. They're getting this push onto bot side, going to get a little demolish proc picked up right there. Titan can sidestep one. The ult's traded though, and FBI is in range for the slow Karaoke around the corner. The damage being pumped up by the Varus is massive, and FBI might be losing his own summoners in a moment. Aurora TPing in, but is going to get slowed by a lovely volley. Can he get in range to force the summoners? There it is. River though,
River may go down.
Side of this wall has to get away, but Titan snipes him away with the piercing arrow as Curry and Karaoke go straight into the jungle to look for more.
And it's worth mentioning here, there have been 8 kills in this game. Titan has been a part of... there have been 9 kills in this game, and Titan's been a part of 8 of them. Whether it's deaths or kills and assists, he is the action so far in this series. And, he's taking away as well, getting caught out by the occasional Glacial Prison. But this time round, knew that he had the team ready to back him up. And credit to Karaoke, credit to Wiser for committing that teleport. This time round, Sniper's teleport is used to defend a bot lane wave. Means that Quid is going to have to go up, catch that top wave. And for the time being, Pain Gaming are dictating terms to 100 Thieves.
Titan's always had that main character energy, and now it's early in the game, the main character has to stumble a little bit, has to show some flaws so we can grow, so we can climax into a triumphant victory at the end of this game, Rude. That's how it's going to go in my headcanon, at least, as Pain starts up this next dragon. This would secure them the epic jungle camp feat, which would get them triumphant boots as well, as Warfare is already theirs.
And nice to see that the plate's also in favour of Pain, so that can be another property of lane swaps that you look at. 3 plates versus just the one that 100 Thieves are able to pick up. Looking to take kills onto an Aurora at this stage as well can be quite tricky because her wave clear is so good, and there's a really good defensive ward down by Wiser. As soon as you recognise your team's taking the Drake, that makes you the play on the top side of the map. So backs away, he's going to have to concede just a little bit until his team gives him a little bit more vision, but not without its own response as well, as Dinkado is actually going to be able to find a turret down in this bot lane. So really, all 3 markers of a successful early game for Pain Gaming going to be in their favour. Warfare, objective, and turret, all secured by Pain Gaming.
I'm going to be honest, it kind of felt like 100 Thieves just decided to sit back and not contest anything for the last 90 seconds. They lost all kind of pressure across any lanes and objectives and have now given a 2,000 gold lead over to Pain. So they are going to start building in these damages. We can see in the objectives 2 Leandries coming out of that top side, Triforce in mid, Blade of the Ruin King on bot side. So some first spikes starting to come out. On the other side, the tanky items are starting to come through for 100 Thieves. There is a Bork in the mid lane and a Kraken Slayer down for FBI. So the inventory still more or less on parity, but Pain, once we start to get to those further items, the damage is already massive, especially from Titan when we saw River, the alleged tank Sejuani, try to force a play and lose half his HP for the benefit. Yeah,
I mean, it's worth mentioning at this point that the Sejuani has exclusively health. We've seen so far built up brown bags for your shoes, and then Heartsteel, health, plus a Ruby Crystal. So it is just HP at this point, which, for Pain Gaming, they're quite happy to chew through with this percentage damage coming through from 3 of the 4 first items that their carries have picked up. And coming into this series as well, coming into the inter-conference play, just by watching the pre-show of the LTA North, they're very confident about their northern teams and saying that really 4 for 4 is what they're expecting in this game, in this weekend, as Titan forced to cleanse once more. But FBI, he's ready with those arrows. Titan seems to have been pretty ready with the cleanse as well. With the game number 1 started, Pain Gaming certainly paving a little bit of a doubt in that mind.
Kato suffers trying to rotate through. He knew that Quid was coming through, but didn't take quite the safest route needed. The Yone starting to really threaten this Corki in the 1v1 scenario. Still holding the ult as well. We'll have to keep an eye on that one. And yeah, Titan losing the cleanse for an ultimate. Not the ideal trade deal that we want to see. River, in fact, porting into topside as well. Wise is going to have eyes in the back of his head as the Sejuani sniffing around top lane. Now 100 Thieves, having taken a couple of minutes sitting back on their heels, have now decided to push back once again as Karaoke, maybe with an angle onto FBI right here. No flash, the ult gets the cleanse, and the reverse is found. The revenge for Titan gets the ult out of FBI, and that mid turret is going to fall in trade.
And I thought that was a little bit of momentum in favour of 100 Thieves there, good little trade down in the bot lane for Quid. They burn the cleanse as well onto Titan, but Pain Gaming snapped back quite rightly, and they used their turn to find the mid-tier 1. Now Titan, with no cleanse, farming this mid wave, doesn't have the support of his team. As soon as River starts poking his head around, does need to be cognizant and be careful as well. Play around this Herald. You'd like to think Pain Gaming with this 2.2k gold lead would look to try and contest, but a lot of recalls need to come through just yet, and it's 100 Thieves that start it up. It is on Vision, and looking at where Pain Gaming are on the map, they have no interest in contesting this. It's whether Quid can escape, has flash, has ulti, and should be fine.
Fury coming around the corner will have a Q stun to offer, but Quid with the
Ayla's roaming too.
Even need to require it. Either way, this is taking a long time for Pain, and they will not find it. It's going to just have to settle for the Krug camp, and that Herald will be 100 Thieves. So well managed by the Quid in the mid lane to get out of that bind, and 100 Thieves pick up the reward on top side. So now it is Pain's turn to redecide what they want to do, how reevaluate what the plan is going to be. Obviously making aggressive moves into Rakan, into Yone, into the threat of a Sejuani has got to be a pretty carefully managed endeavor.
Yeah, and I was expecting as well the Thieves to try and take something extra on that top side. Definitely an angle for them to have looked for wiser. But they're playing it cautiously, playing it conscious of the fact that Drake's spawning in 50 seconds. If Pain Gaming take it, that's going to be Soul Point picked up for them, and it is Hextech, so definitely one that these teams want to be fighting for. You want that bonus to the attack speed, the soul as well if you get it, just so powerful. So both of these teams posturing quite rightly down on this bot side, and you get to see as well Sniper makes his way down into the bot lane. They're going to use Quid's teleport to get up there, or get back down here as a means to an end. If they need a front line, they've got 2 now. They are going to lack a little bit of that engage without the Yone, but Dinkedo looking on to Sniper.
Committing hard, but not going to find too much there. Sejuani spotted Titan and Curry rotating down as well. This is a Hextech Rift, everybody. A dragon up in 5 seconds, and Pain would love to pick this one up, put themselves on Soul Point. 100 Thieves, though, with the Herald in their back pocket, can try and force them to trade, or at least give up River control at the threat of a mid lane turret. And that's exactly what's happening. River still hovering, waiting to see if he can drop the Herald to make Pain make the tough decision.
So they couldn't defend the Vision, but they are able to reconsolidate and put down their own. Quid taking a turret shot there, a little bit of a HP deficit as Pain Gaming have started up the Dragon now. Teleports to be expected to come from both our top laners.
The solo lane is on a flank position. Karaoke aggressed on Curry, trying to do what he can to buy some time. Dragon secured by Pain, but how's the fight gonna go? Curry diving in. Quid deep look into the backline. Karaoke is under threat. Titan is on his own. Sniper has the isolated target, and the fight has fallen apart for Pain. The carries are struggling. Wiser and Dinkedo looking to do what they can. Kasanti will fall. Quid's over the wall. Can he get back in? Can he find some more kills? Yes, he will. Dinkedo gets the double. Looks for more, but cannot find it. It's a triple for the Corki. Dragon in the pocket as well. The 100 Thieves walk away with just a little bit more.
Yeah, they get the ace, the Thieves. They find themselves 5 in the bot lane fight. They don't secure the Dragon, so Pain Gaming get themselves up to Soul Point, but lose out on all 5 members. Some big shutdowns as well that went the way of Quid in this skirmish. 100 Thieves will be happy. Pain Gaming, they'll be happy as well. But I think that the 100 gold, the little bits of extra injection of cash after the fact, it's going to go favourably for them. This topside fight decided by Curry as he flashes onto FBI and makes it so that he can't do too much damage. And Quid, once again, not having the greatest team fight initially, getting chunked out by a ton of damage and missing the ulti as well. Titan, worth saying, DPSing as best as he can, but then the re-engage comes through, and if Dinkedo had mana here, maybe a completely different fight, but he does as best as possible, takes down a couple on the backside, but even still, 100 Thieves had just enough damage, just enough to weather that storm, and when they were up to 2k gold Pain Gaming, losing a fight like that feels pretty rough.
And now, not going to have that advantage that the 2-item spikes come in. 100 Thieves have caught bite right back up, picked up a 500 gold lead of their own, picking up that mid turret as well. Bot lane not long for this world either, very rickety in top and bot side. And the Thieves can pick and choose where they want to go. Titan and Dinkedo doing huge amounts of damage in this game to the tanky frontline of 100 Thieves through these lane matchups. But they need time to drop the damage in a team fight. That's where this game is going to be decided. And Dinkedo trying to play with enough safety. Smells there could be some assistance for Sniper heading down and gives it a wide berth. But it will be reassigned. 100 Thieves so threatening with River on this Sejuani. Atakan now a factor as well on this top side. We'll see if either team wants to force the issue on that one as well.
And the thing for this Pain Gaming composition is them trying to find an engage is so difficult. Constantly have to play reactively to 100 Thieves, and when you have this lead and you don't have engage, your fight becomes so much more difficult. You have to be early to these objectives. You have to be around to poke them out when they try and make their way in, but they just haven't found that position and they aren't far enough ahead anymore for that to be the case.
Ult's committed by 100 Thieves again. The karaoke ult is there as well, but Wise has already been eliminated. Curry now suffering at the hands of 100 Thieves. Dinkedo TP's in, but Sniper hot on his heels, and now they're forcing more damage down their throats. Titan cannot do it all, and 100 Thieves pick a wonderful fight in top lane. Everyone escapes alive, and they find the turret too.
That's the ability that 100 Thieves have. They can pull the trigger on a fight. Even if it's underneath a tier 1 turret, they can spot a member out of position and they can isolate them, take them down. Dinkedo TP's in to try and help out. He's no use either. Immediately focused out and forced to take an early exit from the fight. This is that replay coming through, and Quid just spots two people and decides, I want this fight, even in a 3 versus 3, even under the turret. 3 squishy members can't stand up to the 2-item spike that this Yone has already hit. And yes, Karaoke once again doing as much damage as possible and almost able to take down River, but it's just not quite enough. And you can see here, Golden Glue definitely happy with the way that this is going, and the turnaround for the Thieves very much in favour.
We can see just that when Pain does not have flashes on their important characters, it really feels like they can't stop 100 Thieves doing whatever they want. Quid now aggressing under the tower into Dinkedo. It's going to be a lot of damage. Is it enough? Not quite for the solo kill, but that's not a calculation that Dinkedo had made, I think. 100 Thieves unfortunately don't find that one, but the threat that Quid offers now, after struggling in the early game, gets those key shutdowns in the Dragon Pit and has been rolling ever since.
And this shield bow is doing so much work as well. As soon as you think he's going to get taken down, boom, big shield comes in. And he's absolutely fine. Really solid play from Quid underneath this turret. Going to cost Dinkedo quite heavily in this 1 versus 1. It means he can not really stand up to the Yone. And that's been made very clear to him after that fight.
Yeah, not really a contest he can pick a fight in, as Pain tries to clear out some of this vision, but Sniper and River controlling the area right there, wearing the Voracious Atakan buff still. Pain knows that 100 Thieves is already favored in just sending it into a fight. Now they have the buff as well that reduces the punishment for them getting it wrong. Curry wants to pick up the lovely Magic Storm, and FPI's taken out. In comes the TP behind there from Weiser. Should be able to find a second Sniper. Drops down, but Ayla takes a tricky path to safety, and it's just the 2 kills, but 2.
But look at the timing.
It still is.
Drake spawned, 15-second withdraws. They need to get these down and get them down fast.
Curry suffering. In comes Quid with the ult once again. Titan though flashes away. Can they get the kill? The Yone. 1 goes down and Quid instantly fires back to the fountain. Ayla going to be sent back in after him as River tanking up the rest of the Dragon. Doing some dirty work as well. But now those quick respawns are going to start coming in. And River barely survives. FBI 9 versus 3. Has he bit enough more than he can chew? Flashes away. The ult from Weiser has dropped. And now Sniper's back in to try and make this work. Dinkedo over the wall. When's the Valkyrie coming up? Does he have time to get out of range? I don't think he does, and Cassante finds another kill. as the Dragon started up by River, the Atacon buffs coming up massive for the Thieves.
And Ayla, with a unique flank angle, destroys Pain Gaming in their tracks just when they think the break that they needed, they're going to get the soul, they'll be able to find the fights in future. No, Ayla snaps his fingers, double engage, stops them in their tracks. 100 Thieves continue their dominance through this mid-game, find themselves a turret in the bot lane, find another fight, and this is after 2 withdrawals have come through. Ayla, he's spotted on the pink, but it's too little, it's too late. He syncs up perfectly with when the engage from Quid happens as well. And there's just not quite enough separation from Pain. Once again, we talked about how they need to play these fights. They need to be as far away from one another. And in this Drake pit, you'd like to think that that favours them if they're able to play around the river. But unfortunately, there's just not quite enough there. Now, the benefits are that 100 Thieves spend a lot of flashes here. As soon as FBI came in, flashed back out away. Sniper flashed over this wall to find it engaged. Quid TP'd back in as well. So there's a lot of good things for Pain Gaming that came from that fight. Unfortunately, the soul wasn't one of them.
Just not quite what they wanted. Curry aggressing onto River, and this seems pretty risky. The ults are coming down, and Rel has no one to defend her. The support falls down, trying to push the Sejuani out of the river, but that's just not your river anymore, Pain. The rest of 100 Thieves now threatening to set up around the Baron pit, and even the semi-tank that they have in Curry is not currently available. It's all damage all the time.
And even though these fights rather have been so close, so almost, winning for Pain Gaming, they're down 4, 5, 6,000 gold almost. As off the back of these fights, they've not been able to find those objectives. It's 100 Thieves that have come away with marginal fight victories, but then taken objectives afterwards, which have snowballed them now to having a 2,500 gold lead in that mid lane, and then the leads everywhere else. Not quite as impactful, but a 3-item Yone who's found 6 kills in this game is something that, Pain Gaming need to find an answer for and need to find it soon.
Yeah, Mercurial Sash completed for Quid as well to get himself out of a bind if he does end up getting locked down. Plenty of damage to offer, and 100 Thieves have been so good at following up on Quid's plays. Now Pain once again trying to tentatively take some vision control back around this Baron pit, but 100 Thieves know that they have all the control right now in this game, and if someone steps out of line, they're going to eat the ultimates and they're going to drop down.
Yeah, and also with the Bloodthirster finished for FBI as well, means he can stand up and take a little bit of poke from the team. Can be that front line weirdly, even though he's got River and Sniper on his side, can tank a little bit more and then gets himself back up to full HP and in a DPS check almost versus the Pain Gaming side to see what they've got to give. He's been really solid with those arrows as well, has to be said. There's only one really that I can recall going wide, and that was because Titan, sidesteps to make it happen. Even still, Baron now started for the Thieves as Pain Gaming looking to try and find some resets, but need to get that vision back, Curry thinking, and as soon as he does, 100 Thieves started up.
Ayla, the only one outside of the pit right now. 6k on the Baron. Sniper and FBI coming through from mid lane. In fact, Pain have funneled into a choke right now. This is why the ult doesn't land, but they got the double knockup once again. And the damage is there for Quid to lay down the Yone ultimate. Double kill as he snaps back to his body. Baron completed and Pain on the run. 100 Thieves have just been slaying off the back of this Yone all game long, and Titan now under fire. Quid looks for more. Even the Q dodges cannot save the Pain AD carry.
Yone going legendary is going to be the downfall of Pain Gaming in game number 1, and despite their best efforts through the early game, despite holding on for about 20 minutes, Quid was inevitable. And again, the MVP from the LTA North, the most sought-after player, the best mid laner that they've had to offer, has come alive in this series, come alive in game number 1, and really feels like Pain Gaming haven't got the answer to him.
Absolutely not. Nobody can stand up to Quid when he decides the fight is on. You can see the gold graph there. What looked like a solid start from Pain, building up a modest 2,000 gold lead, has been smashed in favor of 100 Thieves, opening up, approaching 9,000 at the 30-minute mark. Now, the Hextech Dragon up is in less than a minute, but the team fights have been going from bad to worse for the LTA South squad, and it feels like they just need to try and leave it all on the Rift, throw another Hail Mary into this Dragon Pit to try and play for the soul to give themselves a hope.
One more hurrah to see if they can find a way back into this game, but the issue is, who do you send to face check? Because Corey's getting one shot given he's at 8 levels down on Quid. You know, so
Sheesh.
there's a decent amount of squishiness on the rel, and then anybody else that you send is just going to be cannon fodder as well. So you have to walk in as 5, but even then, you see, Curry just has to be so careful at every given turn. Even trying to take vision inside their own jungle is proving to be a stress. I think that this Drake probably one that they have to try and forfeit. There's just no way that they can fight it, and kind of hope that 100 Thieves misplay a little bit. They've got a couple of minutes, a couple of dragons to make that happen.
Quid with the Baron working on top side. As the longer this
Yeah.
takes for Pain, the more damage this Yone is going to do, and he's still got the TP to commit as well. Pain trying desperately to reach for a stun to get something going as their inhibitor tower is now suffering at the hands of the Yone. It's going to be the inhib next. Pain, what are we doing here? We have to back or we have to fight. They make the call to retreat, but now 100 Thieves are stepping up once again. Dinkado eats the Ash Hour, gets knocked
It's
by
just going to end.
well, and Ayla gets the CC chain. Sniper locked up by Karaoke. The damage back is decent. FBI cleansing away from Titan, but Yone is ending the game in top lane. Titan flashing in to find a kill and can't even make it happen. The second Nexus tower under so much fire. Wiser trying to do what damage he can. The TP in from Sniper made it out alive. Curry trying to slow him down, but no one else from Pain can make it back to the Nexus, and Wiser cannot stop this. 100 Thieves. How much more quintessential could it be? Yone basically solo ending the game.
And that felt like the end to the game that Quid deserved, taking down the Nexus turrets, the Nexus itself. A beautiful piece of macro from 100 Thieves, and everybody on the Thieves there syncing up perfectly to decide how they needed to go about finishing that game. They needed to just bait Pain Gaming in enough to make them think that they could fight, and then as soon as that fight happens, they need to snap back, try to disengage it as best as possible, playing with their health bars all the way through that game, all the way through that fight. And Quid the entire time just free hitting onto those Nexus turrets. Pain without really too much to say, and the lack of engage that we saw in their composition ended up really doing them in the end.
Yeah, for a while, Pain looked like they could maybe get their way out of it if they'd managed to find the soul, keep the momentum growing in their favor. Perhaps they could have found the win, but 100 Thieves, just too darn good Quid is, man. He is really rather good at League of Legends, and thankfully, at least, the Yone can't be picked again. This is the small solace that I can find.
Yeah, and I think as well, this is an example really of why we were so terrified about mid lane. And in fairness to Dinkedo, he didn't do anything out of line in that game. He just didn't have the same impact that Quid did, right? In the 1v1, as soon as that lane extended, the Yone is going to run over a Corki just by the nature of the matchup. And I mean, a lot of my concerns for this game came back to the draft anyway. And I think that getting to see that really hammered home as the game got later and later is almost vindicating that Pain put themselves into a hole and unfortunately didn't have a shovel big enough to get themselves out.
Yeah, it was a pretty tricky compositional difference to try and run through right there. We can at least be happy enough with how Pain managed the lane. Besides that first blood death and a couple of snafus from Titan, they found a 2v2 kill. He found a solo kill onto Sniper. Karaoke was down in gold over River, but was able to operate decently well in the early skirmishes around objectives. They were up in objectives across the map. They got all 3 feats for themselves. They managed out a pretty solid early game. But as soon as that tipping point was reached, it just seemed a little bit unplayable at some point for Pain. So we're going to go to a break for now. We'll be back in a few minutes to catch up as this series continues. Pain, we'll see if they can turn this one around or if 100 Thieves are going to sweep them aside as the first seeds out of LTA North. Don't go anywhere, everybody. We'll be back in just a few. Welcome back, everybody, to the LTA South. We are straight into the draft for game number 2. I always forget how quickly they turn this stuff around these days. I love it. Okay, 100 Thieves, they're up 1-0. They had a front-to-back draft, and Yone's Quids Yone went absolutely astronomical. We're not going to see it again. Love that. And we're straight back to the same top lane bans and Callistas before.
Ah, yes. Well, so the more things change, the more they stay the same. Isn't that the saying? That we can make sure that 10 different champions have to be played, but it doesn't mean that 6 different champions are going to get banned.
No, it certainly does not. Pain now on the blue side, taking the loser's advantage there to step forward for the B1. We'll see what it is. Skarner banned away, Elise banned away by Pain now as well, so trying to deny that combination. And Bessa is wide open, and Weiser has slammed it blind.
Yeah, okay, I'll take it. It means with no Renekton ban, it's very open to getting countered. Whether Sniper wants to take the Renekton or not, we'll have to wait and see. But I do like the opening of Talia straight away, just saying, yeah, you want to pick Dash Champs? Let's see what you've got in the tank. The Vi picked up here, still can get Ezreal'd by Teton, can get Tristana'd as well, which we have seen him pull out a few times also. Okay, going to be Ezreal, so a little bit of safety in the bot side here this time out. But that just opens up for FBI to be able to answer with a Kai'Sa of his own. So the dive is going to be coming through for 100 Thieves from an Ambessa opening on Pain's side. They're the ones that have somehow ended up with a front-to-back composition. And Pain and Game 100 Thieves, rather, have just got the full dive now.
Yes, the Vi, the Talia, the Kai'Sa potentially to be locked in as well was banned away last time around, leaving open, again, not too much in the way of tank line for either side so far. There is some mitigation there in terms of the Azir wall and some ability. The Kai'Sa does make it through, so we're looking for supports. We're looking for top laners, a top laner from 100 Thieves, I should say. And we're looking for jungle and support from Pain. So when we have an Ezreal, before we go through these bans, I'm assuming some sort of Leona-esque pick is potentially on the cards for Curry, but I mean, whether they actually decide to ban it away, I'm not sure.
So the good thing is that 100 Thieves are going to get support counter pick because they see top lane, so they know what they're going to be able to answer top with. Right now, they're about pinching the jungle pool because they've already got their jungler, so they're just going to take picks away from Karaoke that would have gone well. If they've done their homework, they won't ban Xin Zhao here. If they haven't, they may well, and we'll see sort of what that ends up looking like. Because Pain Gaming need a strong bridge jungler at the moment to sort of get them through the early stages of this game. They've got some really solid scaling in the Azir and the Ezreal, but that early game dominance that they were sort of looking at in game number 1, not really as present here. Wouldn't be surprised if we saw something like a Wukong, honestly, slot in for Karaoke. I think that fits the brief of what their composition needs the most. And with Braum taken off the table, it suggested that they want to go for a Nautilus, and I like that they've just banned that as well.
Yeah, so we have the Pantheon locked in here, which we have seen start to continue to rise in prevalence. Curry actually has started to put up some big games on it as well. So that Kai'Sa Pantheon bot lane, very, very scary. Assuming they don't want to rotate up to top lane, who knows? We will give them a chance to show us. Curry instead goes for the Alistar. This is a very kind of highlight reel pick for Curry when he's on his game, and it is something that can easily roam away from the Ezreal as well. And now we need to see, what are we thinking, Karaoke? What are we doing here? We've got everything.
We are not thinking Nidalee.
Yeah, and I hope we're not thinking Nidalee.
No, I mean, yeah, it should just be the Wukong that slots in, hopefully. I don't even think Ivern's that good this time around, to be honest with you. We'll talk about it when it ends up getting picked, if or not. It does, and it gets taken here, so you're playing, I suppose, for the Enchanter nature of the Azir as well. So, you typically Enchanter with a Hyper Carry. Normally those Hyper Carries are ADs. This time around, it's the Azir that you're looking at as you're, giving masses of shields and heals to, and they may be a little bit plagued off of a Ivern game from the LTA South just last weekend. But it's the lock-in of Jax, so Renekton seemingly just slotting all the way through this, and the Jax versus the Ambessa, not necessarily the worst matchup for Ambessa, probably not the greatest either, but Sniper feels confident taking it. And whenever you have an Alistar lane, you probably want to lane swap because that champ gets bullied level 1, and we'll see whether or not 100 Thieves opt into that this time out also.
Yeah, so I agree with you. I would have maybe liked to see the Wukong as something that it can be a disengaged champion with the clone and the double ults, but it also gives them something more of an action point to go from, a flanking Wukong, a flash W ult, just something to try and get something started or make a pick if they want to find that. As they have right now, it is entirely kind of at the whim of these as to when plays are going to be made. Oh yeah, or Curry making the insane highlight play again.
Yeah, I mean, Curry, I think as well, the way he's probably going to be playing this game is as disengaged because there are 4 champions that are going to look to very easily jump, and one of them that's going to have to ride a wall to jump into the backline. So, 5 out of 5 members can feasibly gain access to this Ezreal. And granted, you're playing Ezreal, you're playing Ivan and Azir, these 3 champs that are very good at self peel and keeping themselves alive. So, on paper, the way this draft plays out for 100 Thieves isn't as easy as we saw Game 1 prove to be. I like what Pain Gaming have, and the answers that they've got to the 100 Thieves comp should stand up. It's disengage versus dive. It's what 100 Thieves really don't want to be looking down, but the Ambessa for me just feels a little out of place, and that then means, okay, how do we make that Ambessa slot into our composition? Do we double down and try and put Sniper really far behind the curve and make it so this Ambessa is its threat in its own right? Or do we just sort of accept that we're going to have a middling to okay Ambessa game and then move into having a 4-man core that does really well?
Yeah, not super cohesive there, slotting the Ambessa in, but we will leave it to Pain to demonstrate why they have made this choice as we head onto the Rift for game number 1. 100 Thieves could secure the 2-0 here and move forward, as some thought they would, or Pain can fire back and keep this series alive, keep the LTA South's hopes alive, and start building some momentum as we have plenty more series to play. Leviathan and Fly afterwards today, and then 2 more tomorrow on these cross-conference matchups. Pain contesting a level 1 Titan again on his own, but only Ayla really in threat range here. Not even queuing and autoing, just really contesting.
Pantheon wins this, by the way.
Yeah, so we have FBI coming around the corner as well. The Mystic Shot goes wide, and the rest of Pain just checking to see if the 100 Thieves are actually leaving.
Yeah, and I mean, the Pantheon level 1, kind of crazy, especially if you can get a couple of rounds of those spears in. However, moving into which lanes are going to end up where, FBI moves up to that top side. It's matched, though, by Titan. So we should see Australia lanes a complete flip. And then the question is of, okay, do our top laners just recognize that and head towards the bot lane? And it looks like that is also going to be the case. So we're just going to get completely flipped lanes, and we'll see how that ends up panning itself out. Both of our junglers are splitting the map, it looks like. We've got Karaoke, who will start out by befriending the camps in the top side, and River going to start out by taking the camps in the bot side.
Yeah, by beating them into submission.
Yes.
Strategy. Pain, we'll see if Titan and Curry can manage this Pantheon Kai'Sa, kind of almost a kill lane with the amount of burst that they have and the amount of synergy that it's built up together. Curry going to have to be on watchdog duty on the Alistair. Dinkato trying to get this wave pushed up. Quid with the first level 2 though. Azir with a little bit of a range advantage with a minion wave to hide behind, but again, it's going to be a little while before we're expecting Dinkato to come alive on here. The Corki laned decently in number 1, didn't fall behind, didn't pull ahead, was ready to step into that mid game looking alright. But now he has the Azir, and we'll expect to see a similar journey. It's Wiser and Sniper, a matchup we didn't get to see too much of last game, and we didn't get to see too much of Wiser, generally speaking. But now maybe the Ambessa, slightly singled out as it is, we'll see if it can have some individual impact.
Oh, and this is, I think this should be, and just looking at how that short interaction goes, not the worst laning phase for Wiser. As soon as the Jax jumps on you, if he doesn't insta-proc the stun, then you've got enough dashes to either get out of it or then trade back very aggressively. So can see that Wiser should be able to hold his own down on that bot side. And again, we've seen already that Titan Curry are happy to take these 2 versus 2s, came out on top in game number 1. The other half of the map that we were hoping for was Wiser being able to handle Sniper. And we didn't get to see that in game 1, but hopefully in game number 2 we will see a little bit more of that. As one of the more veteran presences in the LTA South here, Wiser certainly should be looking to captain Pain Gaming into a really solid position.
Yes, River now heading into this top side, going to drop some vision. Karaoke is heading that direction as well. And we'll see if they're going to contest over this scuttler on the top side right now. It seems like 100 Thieves will be likely to get the first move in either side. Karaoke is going to spot what's going on right here. The scuttler already down, and that is going to simply wrap that one up. As we see the tri-lanes once again. Reversed though they may be, standard matchups happening. Big chunk onto Dinkato, suffering from Quid, who looks to maybe try and get that last threaded volley, that large boulder, and will instead force Dinkato to recall and burn that TP early on.
Yeah, fortunately though, these are all beneficial trades for Dinkado. Quid has already used that teleport, and he's going to go back to base. He's going to be stopped here by Karaoke as well, and that's really going to put a spanner in the works for the 100 Thieves mid laner. Yes, Dinkado loses, 3 melee creeps under the turret, but Quid is probably going to lose a whole lot more, all sit in mid lane, very chunked and very low mana.
Yeah, we saw Vi sitting in that bot try, but ended up just channeling the recall there. Weiser was pushed up, but they didn't commit the play. Maybe worried about the Karaoke influence there, as Quid did not have the mana to really assist. And Karaoke ended up chasing Quid all the way back to his own blue buff camp, and now has finally got the recall up. At Dinkado will be able to get that wave pushed in the time. So nice little interaction from Pain Gaming there through that mid jungle that we have been so worried about so far. The lane, at least in game number 1, was fine. It was really later on, in fact, where the mid and jungle from 100 Thieves started to step up massively and carry the game.
Yeah, so it looks like there, Quid actually lost out on really an entire minion wave of experience. So Dinkado losing out on 3 melees, Quid missing out on the 3 ranged as well. And a nice little engage as well, dodging out on the seismic shove by just going through the unraveled earth in his own right. He dodges out on a little bit more damage. Obviously, there was a couple of pebbles that didn't get turned over to begin with. So it's a good trade for Dinkado, and it's good to see that he's able to find how he should be taking these.
Yes, this is, putting a little bit some of our worries to rest right here, at least, that we're going to come out of that laning phase looking all right. Ayla now on the top side of mid, in fact, with the Pantheon still ready to strike if needed. We have not seen any major advantages gained from the Vi or the Pantheon so far. No early fights, no picks, no first bloods like game number 1. And it's going to be a bit of a calmer affair as the Dragon now spawning on the bot side, the Grub Camp about to pop on top. So now we will get to see who's going to approach these in what way. Are we going to go for a trade? Are we going to try and commit for an early scrap to see if we can get better positioning? As both bot laners are still up to this top side. The junglers too piling in.
So Weiser can actually walk up to the top side because he's had the run of things down bot lane. He can walk top side, influence Grubs, and then TP down bot lane because he's not burnt his teleport, where Sniper has had to burn teleport to get back to the lane already. This might mean that Pain Gaming find themselves those first 3 Grubs just off of the Weiser vs Sniper matchup.
The 4v3 potentially, or maybe 5v4 as River getting ingressed on, but Curry doesn't have the teammates there quite yet, doesn't have the ultimate. In flies Quid, and it's first blood secured. Okay, now Weiser is in with the ultimate. River is under threat. Dinkado trying to follow up Titan, looking to get those mystic shots. There's the first kill. That's comes the second. Here comes the man advantage for Pain. Ayla over the wall, sniping down Weiser, stopping it from getting the value, and Titan under the tower. There it is, almost finding the kill. And it's caught between a Pantheon and a Talia, and a second snipe from Ayla turns it to 100 Thieves' favor.
It's a rock and a sharp place this time, and Titan falls. Yes, the teleport comes through, but Pain Gaming a little too quick. Curry in particular, just too quick on that engage. Catches his own team off guard, and the advantage which Weiser had generated down in this bot side is wiped out. And it feels so disheartening for Pain because they'd done all the hard work. The macro, which was theoretically going to be maybe the weakest part of how they looked to play this, was set up for them. But they just flubbed the engage, they flubbed the micro, and it cost them dear.
Karaoke tries to take red, but River, wearing level 6 as well, goes in to contest it. And now we have Curry coming around, the bot lane from 100 Thieves as well, contesting. Karaoke does walk away with the buff at least. Despite being ultless, is not going to be intimidated by River's Vi, who simply queues back over through the Dragon Pit. And 100 Thieves secured the feat of warfare in that top side, got all 3 of those kills, 2 of them going on to Pantheon, as we'll see a replay of how that played out.
Yeah, and it's just too early. Karaoke's not ready with the root caller. Titan can't walk through that choke of 3 people. And importantly as well, the Talia can cheat some tempo by using the Weaver's Wall to make his way in that little bit sooner. Now, a lot of flashes from 100 Thieves are burned to try and get out. And Titan as well, doing quite the amount of damage. Weiser just barely caught out by Ayla's flash down on this bot side. And good flash away from Quid also gets Titan, like we say, in this really tricky position. Missing out on a crucial Q a couple times under the turret means that Quid's able to escape. And, fancy feet on both sides, but fancier for Quid nonetheless.
Yeah, unfortunate for Pain. Again, we've got to shake this one off. We're now 1,000 gold down, 8 minutes in here in game number 2. There is no game number 3 if you go down right here. Weiser gets caught up by the stun by Sniper, gets the shield though popped up once again, and did come away with a kill and an assist from that fight, so is still even on gold despite Sniper being able to crash that bot wave and Weiser not able to TP back in and catch it due to how that fight unfolded. Pain still have the opportunity to try and find more. They've returned to this grub camp, in fact, to try and pick it up after all that mess. River, though, is probably just going to slide into the pit and find out what's going on right here. Daisy holding the line. Ayla rotating up with FBI, and Pain this time, I think, have got to give up the ghost. They just are not in a position to fight this one out this time around.
Nope, and it's good to see that they recognise that as well. I mean, the only real area of the map where they have any form of gold advantage is down on this bot side, as Wiser is...
Oh my goodness, Quid's been caught out. How has this happened? The combo from Curry gets that first kill. River on the top side, isolated from Ayla and FBI, and Pain will be able to find a trade kill as Dinkado suffers the wrath of the Vi's flying fist. Karaoke picking that one up. Looks like bot lane managed to break apart without too much trouble. Sniper losing the ult, losing the flash. Wiser holding onto his own R button. But Pain somehow managed to scrap the way out of that.
Yeah, so a 2-4-1 on the top side for Pain Gaming. The issue is that the kills go to Curry and Karaoke, not the places that we're looking to see get gold on this Pain Gaming side. Nevertheless, they put the stop to the grub, so it's currently 1 apiece. And even though Sniper didn't find the solo kill down in the bot side, he did manage to find his 4th plate now in that 1 versus 1. And, you know, you talked about all of the gold that Wiser was able to get. What he missed on that bot side to that massive wave was a lot of experience. And that's what's allowing Sniper to take these advantageous trades. So this is a replay of how Quid, I believe, got caught out, and it's Dinkado starting it up with a great little scoop onto the Talia with no flash from that earlier play. And River decides, hold on, I've got an opportunity to try and fight my way out of this. And, you know, fair play to him. Finds it, takes the kill onto Dinkado, does end up falling in the back half, but Karaoke trades it out, stealing it away from Titan, who could have maybe landed a Mystic shot to take it, but even still, 1-for-1. Or 2-for-1, excuse me, in favour of Pain. And, you know, just when we start to think, okay, maybe it's a little tricky for them, they start to give us something back.
Titan still holding on to top of the gold charts right now somehow, as have now been rotated into the mid lane to face Pantheon and Kai'Sa. River as well waiting. Karaoke there as well. The Dragon potentially the full focus. Those grubs, still a single grub just sitting, waiting lonely in that pit as 1 apiece was taken by Pain and 100 Thieves. The camp no longer counting towards the feet of Epic Monsters. And that's just kind of lost a lot of its value. River on vision will start up the Dragon. Now, will there be an answer for Pain? It doesn't seem like it. Curry's just pulled the recall, and Wiser still battling it out with Sniper in bot lane as a pink ward just kind of drops right there. Not sure if that was a leap strike target, but it's probably not going to last.
No, maybe he thought he was playing Earth and he could jump in and then jump back out again. I don't know. Even still, nice little bit of gold to be picked up for Wiser off the back of this. But the Drake's secured for 100 Thieves. Okay, whoosh. I had to hold my breath there because it looked like Titan was going to steal it. Didn't, but nevertheless, Wiser down on that bot side still feeling quite the amount of pain and goes back to base, picks up the Eclipse. So should be able to now stave off a little bit of the damage that comes through from this Jax as the rest of 100 Thieves, in fact, decide, yeah, that turret looks pretty good. We'll take it for ourselves, I think.
Curry rotating down. Titan maybe slowly following. Wiser is there as well. The Alistair pops up to get served for the double knock.
But who's there?
River now bumped into a tricky position. TP's coming in. Sniper looks to finish the turret. Doesn't quite get it done. And now Wiser pushing him back. The minions are going to finish the job. But can Pain find any kills? TP comes in. Instantly flash away. But Quid already in the wrong spot. And Wiser diving deep onto Sniper. In comes the redemption. A double for the Ambessa, and 100 Thieves have to scatter behind bot lane tower.
Yeah, they decided that tier 1 turret was going to be worthwhile. Now, they have picked up those tier 3 boots, the triumphant boots, when they need them. But 2 kills for Pain Gaming as a response. Honestly, about even in terms of the gold trade. This time, though, it's Wiser that picks up the kills. It's not Curry, it's not Karaoke getting these kills. And Curry, again, for me, going in a little too quick. But I think this is what baits in 100 Thieves. This is what incentivizes them to stick around, thinking that maybe they can find something here. And when you start channeling this teleport, it's fine from Quid. You have a lot of teammates around that tri-brush. By the time he lands, though, everybody's scattered to the winds and he is left to slaughter.
Yeah, we could see the value of the Karaoke Ivor with the redemption coming in there as well. Wiser does have the freedom to dive deep with the shields to back him up, to turn those tricky situations into winning ones, as River working on that final grub at last does pick it up. Vault Baker out of the pit right there. So 2-for-1 in the favor there for 100 Thieves. As Titan aggressively eating forward onto FBI, trying to leverage this Triforce that he now has under his belt. And Pain clearly still confident to try and force an error for 100 Thieves to try and get some damage down, maybe pull them into a fight they don't want to take. The disengage for Pain's comp is the main strength, as we said. Ayla now getting caught up, tries to find the counter. Quid, though, with damage to follow it up, and River doesn't land the Q. Curry lost the ultimate for that exchange.
And it's worth saying as well, I haven't really addressed this, but I do favour the Pain Gaming composition as we get later into this game. The power that Ivan is going to have, the disengage plus damage combo, should be looking to favour our LTA South representatives, but they have to get there on parity, and they have to get there where they're relatively even in gold. And so far, only 1k behind, and the large margin of that is in that mid lane once again. The Talia could prove to be the thorn in the side of Pain, because whereas they've got 4 heavy divers on the 100 Thieves side, that one person who can stay safe in the backline and still pump out a ton of damage is Quid, is this Talia, who is, again, so far ahead.
Yes, coming out of the lane, sitting pretty, stacking up. The Archangel's about to tick over into the Saracens. They're going to be off to the races at that stage. We can see the Heart Steel almost done for Ayla's Pantheon, with the double Giant's Belt waiting for completion. Using that those early extra 2 kills gold.
Yeah.
To accelerate their own build path now. And we've gone back to a strange, just kind of a shuffle, a kind of random scattering of team members across various lanes right here, which 100 Thieves seem to be using to try and take up aggressive positions and vision in that bot side.
So there won't be a second spawn of grubs this game, just by nature of how long it took to take the first 3. Bit of a collapse down on this bot side though now for 100 Thieves, as Wise a step too far.
Oh, the ultimate doesn't come through, forces the flash, but Ayla gets over the wall. There's the seismic shove, knock back the wall, drops, but Wiser doesn't have the health to play with. 100 Thieves draw in the Pain topside and punish.
And importantly, again, it's a shutdown. This time it goes on to Snipers, who's going to be helping out in that 1 versus 1 significantly. And picking up that kill there to keep the Ambessa out of arm's reach is definitely going to be in the best interests of 100 Thieves. As for the flip side of the map, Dinkedo should be able to take this tier 1 turret down on the top side, so there's a little bit of recompense for Pain Gaming. It is going to shorten that gap up between the mid laners, and that's what you get when you have the advantage as Quid. You can use a little bit of time to move into that bot side, forego a little bit of that gold lead to give yourself and give your team, more so than anything, another advantage.
Herald now been worked on by Pain. The Dragon up in 30 seconds. A Hextech number 2 Drake on the Rift right here, but Pain should be able to pick this one before 100 Thieves can contest if they so wish. And down it goes. Titan waiting. Curry actually on top of River. There's no Q down. This is the flash away from the Vine. The stun instead coming onto Ayla. A headbutt back into the rest of Pain.
Nice.
Does pick up the clean kill.
Without any response either. Yes, a midwave gets pushed, but they secured the Herald. They secure a kill onto Ayla, who also was worth a shutdown. Again, these little bits of gold constantly getting picked up by Pain Gaming. That's Titan finding a little bit in his back pocket. Now going to be able to push that midwave in, move down toward the Dragon, and a second epic monster will be picked up in very short succession, stopping that early stacking from the 100 Thieves. As Sniper sniffing around a little bit. Remember, Pantheon with 7, or 6 I suppose, can make his way to this fight quite quickly. 100 Thieves fancy this, and they've gone in very hard.
So maybe put himself in the wrong position right there. Has to ult back to safety, and Curry does not have the ultimate. Going to be finished off by 100 Thieves. The redemption isn't enough as the execute comes through from Ayla. Ult onto Titan. Knock back from Quid. Forced the flash over the wall, but a flash from FBI follows for another kill. And now Wiser needs to head out of there. Pain looks to punish, but find themselves in the worst spot.
And they're just not grouped up enough to take this Dragon. A little bit of that split resource. Okay, Titan pushes in that mid-wave, but the rest of his team go towards the Dragon. And unfortunately, Karaoke and Curry, they don't have the damage to take it down fast enough, so they end up losing out on the play in the long run. Dinkedo also made his way back up into the top lane, and they're just a little bit spread, trying to do a little too much with too little resources. Second Drake of the game going to go down in favour of the Thieves, and that's an Ocean Soul being picked up. A soul that is definitely going to help out 100 Thieves if they can make it to this late game.
This continued disconnect between the Curry engages and the rest of Pain following up on it is costing them so heavily in this second game. Normally, Pain are more on the same page as their support. This has been Curry's superpower ever since they brought him in. The engages have been so clean. He's so good at finding windows to punish enemies, putting a foot out of place, but Pain are just not ready to capitalize today versus 100 Thieves, and they're losing the chance there. Is it Curry not realizing where his team is? Is it his team not following up on Curry? It's hard to say from this vantage point, but whatever it is, it's just not working.
So 2 dragons picked up for the Thieves, and if Pain Gaming can tighten up those engages, and I think that Pain Gaming are trying to do too much currently, right? Their composition kind of thrives when they're the ones getting engaged on almost, right? Yeah. If you see Vi coming in, oh, okay, I can knock her away, or Pantheon, Jax, they're coming in, I've got a double headbutt ready to go. But Curry, starting these fights off just feels almost like the rest of Pain can't follow as easily, and if they do, then they are very exposed and very vulnerable the second they use those movement spells in any way aggressively. So 100 Thieves, I think, capitalizing on the mistakes of Pain Gaming so far through this early game, but you can see that the gold has, marginally tailed off, it's worth saying. That 13-minute peak hasn't really been improved upon by 100 Thieves since then.
Sniper pressuring onto Wiser. The ults, in fact, starting to come out of there. Both of them drop down to about 30%. Still pretty even down in the spot side with the 2 items completed for the top laners here. But Sniper does at least have control of the wave. Going to crash in those minions. Going to be able to recall from the safety of the brush right there. As Pain currently giving Hunters a lot of space. Pantheon goes back to base as well as the Atakan spawns. Another voracious for us here in game number 2. And this was something that 100 Thieves used to massive effect in that first game, forcing a very tight fight to wind up in their favor.
Okay, and we get to see 100 Thieves now stepping over Dinkedo as he's going to pick up a couple of roses as well, gets his channel or his recall stopped. But the Atacon definitely going to be that next point of contention for these two teams. No Drake for the next 2 minutes and 30 seconds. And, looking at those 2 item spikes, who's hitting them and when? Well, Karaoke summons Daisy's already been channeled for.
Mitting, and there's the full dive. Karaoke going over the wall, gets away from the seismic shot, but Ayla's round the corner. The blast cone gets Ivan to safety. Now the punish can come through, and FBI caught in a bad spot. River, the next target, and Pain have drawn 100 Thieves into the jaws of the trap. Sniper with a late TP in looks to try and clean up that jungler, will finally secure it, but 3 members of Pain circling around, a flashing onto Titan, heads over the wall, the leap strike almost gets him in range, a lovely knockup from Curry, headbutt back over the wall, in comes the counter strike, double kill,
oh my god, how many?
Touching him, and finally Wiser and Dinkedo can finish this fight. It's the ace for Pain, only losing 2 of their own.
What do they get from this in game number 1? When 100 Thieves found kills, they found objectives afterwards. Pain Gaming find an ace at 20 minutes, and Titan has to reset. He's so low that he can't find anything from this. Wiser goes into the mid lane to push it out, but again, there's no objective being picked up. This is a superb fight, and an exact example of why Pain might scale that little bit better as the game goes later. Karaoke sponges all of the damage, uses his flash to buy space, and draws in 3 members of 100 Thieves, who immediately get taken out. But Sniper comes in to save the day, hops in on top of Daisy, on top of the Karaoke as well, and is able to find a couple of kills off the back end of this. The blue buff seals Curry's fate, takes him out of the fight, and Sniper goes down as well. So a 3 members strong Pain Gaming, unable to find anything off the back of that. They'll go back to base, spend all of their gold, and the tier 1 in the mid lane not even charged on.
Titan empowered by that play. Finally, something going right for Pain in this second game. Basically eliminates the entire gold diff. And once again, Titan way up at the top of the damage charts, just like game number 1. But can he convert it this time as Pain found that opening? We saw the power of the composition on display in that fight. 100 Thieves might have to pause after that, seeing how it can go if they do just pick a random target and send it. Dragon up in 15 seconds. 100 Thieves would love to fight for another soul point right here. You mentioned the Ocean Soul would pay a lot of dividends for them.
And look at the item specifically that Karaoke has picked up. Seeker's Arm Guard now in his inventory. So if he gets targeted by that Violty, can actually immune it, stop himself from being the one ceasing and desisted on. And that should be a big caveat that Pain Gaming needs to be keeping their eye on 100 Thieves as well. As Wiser gets poked out a little bit by River, jostling around this Drake.
Pain getting drawn into that river was giving me the fear, man. 100 Thieves looked like they had a potential collapse angle, but Titan eing forward. That's the classic Titan Israel move. River starting up the dragon, and Pain...
Sniper's going to be spotted.
Trying to push this mid wave in right now. In comes the Pantheon ult. There's the committal to Karaoke again, but can they find the kill? It's got no flash. There is the stasis, but is this enough? In goes the Ayla into the backline. It's going to get taken out, surely. There's the heal. The shuffle back, and Sniper now suffering again. Finds the stun onto Titan. Goes golden himself, and the rest of Pain circling, waiting for the double kill. Another engage for the Thieves goes awry.
And the compositional differences are starting to come home to roost in favour of Pain Gaming. The LTA South comes alive as another fight goes their way. They stopped the soul stacking, they stopped the dragons, and now, continually finding fights back to back, Pain Gaming may just have an advantage.
Dragon stacking stopped. We go to the replay here, and this was the terrifying moment, but again, they're trying to eliminate the shields from Karaoke, but that's the worst target to pick.
Yeah, and they go in, and the Daisy as well is doing so much zoning. FBI and Quid can't walk through it, so it's effectively a 5 versus 2 almost in the front line. Sniper and Ayla have no chance in that fight, and yes, Sniper burns his own Seeker's Arm Guard there. That's a massive shutdown of resources as well. 1600 gold, he's going to need another 1600 before he can actually finish the Zonyas, and all of a sudden, all of that good work that 100 Thieves did, a little bit reminiscent to game number 1 through the early game, is being snuffed out by a compositional difference.
Yeah, a little bit of a mirrored play here in game number 2. Now, the one thing that is still giving me pause, Roodood, is watching Sniper's Jax on the side lane kind of scale up into that threat, and Pain need to make sure they're still in control of it. Weiser's going to have to be very careful there, but we've seen the fights really start to turn, and Pain now can get a little bit on the same pace, setting up some Baron Vision. The Atacon still an option. They'd love to have those get out of jail free cards as River taking a little look-see, but we'll have to back away from the 3-man strong Pain.
It's just terrifying trying to start up that Atacon. So frequently teams that started up end up being the ones that lose out on the fight, and Pain Gaming need to not forget their roots here, not forget the fundamentals. Let's walk into mid lane, make sure that we can secure priority of that mid wave first of all, and then look towards some of these objectives. We're going to take a little stab in the back from Dinkado and a little attack from the big purple worm as well, but feels fine in the long run. Looking down at that bot side as well, I am still worried about Sniper from the Pain Gaming perspective, because the Jax in the side lane getting to that point now where may not be contestable as Wiser. He's been sat, a little bit behind in that gold, and I think that for now he's got a small item advantage because that, Seeker's Arm Guard is shattered, more so than anything else, not giving the power of the active. But we're going to get slowly and slowly more in towards Jack's territory where he has to recruit 2-3 members to stop him.
Yeah, it's going to be very tough, and Pain are going to have to answer some very difficult questions. They're going to be forced, a comp that loves to wait to be engaged on, potentially forced to make a play to avoid the Jax just shredding through your side lane. So Pain need to keep an eye on that one for sure as they take control of mid lane once again. But you can see Wiser eternally pushed in on bot side, and the Thieves currently just waiting, biding their times, contesting Vision back and forth over this Baron pit, over this Atacon top side, and on Vision, it gets started by Pain. Out comes Daisy.
So the good thing here is that Daisy can actually tank up the majority of that shred, that resist that comes through. It's going to be the Daisy that has it. Now 100 Thieves, they see this happening. Double TP should be getting called from either side.
Oh, they're committing onto River. They've got the damage. Do they have the kill, though? In comes Quid to split them down. Viol goes in. Dinkado going to be taken, but it's traded for the jungle. Karaoke trade as well. No smites available as Atacon drops lower and lower, and 100 Thieves force Pain out and snap up the buff.
And when are they going to learn, Trajan? This Pain composition absorbs fights incredibly well. Their engage is really difficult because as soon as they engage onto one target, the rest of the Thieves can collapse. And it's exactly what happened in this team fight. They go forward, they're looking to eliminate the 50-50. The idea is right. The execution, though, is just all wrong. Dinkado gets taken out without really ever getting to do anything. And the fight from there is a complete wash. All they need here is Curry to just knock away the Vi, to buy space, to zone out what the steal is. And Karaoke, he's in there, he's down immediately. And it's just a bit of a disaster for Pain once again.
Unfortunate now, 100 Thieves taking back control, and they have the buff that on a full dive composition cuts the risk reward very much in their favor with this Voracious Atacon buff, and they can maybe look to start up this Baron. They are now taking control of the Vision, TPing in Quid, trying to take as much control as possible, but in fact, they step back and again will take the reserved option. Of course, there is a couple of minutes to wait for this Atacon buff to time out, so 100 Thieves can wait and pick their moment. But it does offer a very, very scary alternative right there. A full dive composition with minimized danger of actually just sending it all the way in.
So important breakpoints are going to be when Karaoke can finish off the Zonyas, I suppose, at this point. And then also, waiting for Dinkedo to get that finished off as well. He's got the arm guard for now, so has that little tool in his back pocket. But until we get to see, well, I say that Zonya's is finished now for Karaoke. I think Pain probably going to be a little bit happy to try and take these fights, but 100 Thieves taking the fight to them by starting the Baron.
Forcing again the engage from Pain. Quid drops.
That's a good wall.
Weiser is so far marooned right now, and Sniper threatening on the flank. 100 Thieves burning this objective down lower.
Okay.
Karaoke shepherding in behind. Daisy's going to get into range. The sniper!
Stolen!
The Brazilian steel god shows up again, and now Pain can try and back away. The front line falling. River diving in. Gets sent back with the draw. In comes FBI. Titan forced to flash away. The fight still looks like it's going for 100 Thieves. They barely managed to scrape their way out of it. Pain would love to hold on to these Baron buffs. They walk away with 2, but they lose 3.
It's an absolute win. Look where they can retreat back to as well. Weiser and Titan straight onto that dragon, straight onto another denial of soul point away from 100 Thieves. Pain Gaming secure the objective. They get the gold that goes with it, and they get a dragon. A couple of Atacons, a couple of kills. Who cares? That should have been the nail in the coffin and should have been 100 Thieves sending themselves to the semis, but Pain have stopped it in their tracks.
River chooses not to commit forward, didn't have the ultimate to really lock Weiser down, and he'll walk away maintaining that buff. FBI wants to take down mid lane. Weiser wants to stop him doing so, but maybe served himself up as a dive target. The flash in from River is there, and Weiser barely doesn't make it away. Titan tries to find a punish. River and FBI both low. Curry looking to support. Quid round the corner.
He's gonna go again.
Thieves, they find the turret. They find the kill. 1 Baron buff now remaining for Pain.
So they're going to trade on this tier 1, but can they get a little bit more as well? HP bars are low for 100 Thieves, and the wave clear versus a Baron not particularly present. Transition maybe down into this bot side, and if Titan is over that wall, he's going to find some lower HP bars than maybe 100 Thieves were anticipating. 2 turrets down there to take, but Sniper's behind them now.
Titan's gone very, very deep. He didn't get locked up right there. Goes Golden to avoid Sniper, but can Pain squeak their way out of this one? They're very deep on the wrong side of the map right here. River on the flank. Titan is picked apart. Finally, Dinkedo is here, but it's too late. Pain Gaming, they reach too far, and they give up the ace.
They look for the fight, but the numbers disadvantage comes home to roost once again. And it's FBI who sees the stasis and raises Pain one more. Gets engaged on by Dinkedo, goes golden to bait in the Azir perfectly. And Pain Gaming once again, just when it looked so good, it's the Thieves that stop them in their tracks.
Now the bot lane push comes in. That tower that has been pressured by Sniper so long finally falls. Mid lane accompaniment as well. Only Weiser can sit and watch. And now 100 Thieves have truly broken open this game. Bot and Hib will go down as well, and the gold lead just ballooned. Pain held on for over 30 minutes this time. But still, it is Thieves in control. No buffs to be taken, but we can see Titan really reaching so far for this.
Yeah, and I don't even think that E is like endemic in itself, but it's just what it leads into. In the collapse coming through, he also immunes the redemption of his own team, but as soon as he eases over one wall, he's actually separating himself from the front line. FBI is lethal, Sniper with the engage as well, and there's unfortunately just not enough there for Pain Gaming. And you can see a reminder that this is a single elimination best of 3. Pain Gaming here, they bought one more week by taking themselves to this tournament, but at the end of this, if they lose, they're completely done for the split. That's it, over and done with.
And we never want to see Pain Gaming knocked out like this, but they are on the brink of dropping out 0-2 to 100 Thieves. Dinkedo crashing in this bot wave will try to get some gold back, but the rest of 100 Thieves are bearing down on top side. Thank goodness they don't have a Baron buff to push with as well, but they certainly have a lot of money to play with as River. Having a little look-see to see if there's a target there. Dinkedo, though, with the safety of the Sun Disc, will likely be able to get away here. With FBI actually in ult range, they could just go for the 2v1 dive. In comes the Q, in comes the Kai'Sa, and there's the combination. Dinkedo falls again.
And he has stasis, he has ulti, but just not able to find the timing. River able to isolate the Azir. Kai'Sa diving in as well, and 100 Thieves very slowly but very surely putting a very good start to their playoffs career here in this first really cross-conference play that we're getting to see. Little mistakes, little fumbles, and these are the issues that people, the Pain Gaming fans, have been so critical of Dinkado for, that as we moved into this later stage of the game, his target selection, his positioning, the idea of how to keep himself alive and what he needs to do, just not quite where it needs to be.
Yeah, and it feels like it has been a rough around the edges Pain that's been playing here today, and honestly, that is the Pain that we saw in the LTA South Domestic season. Like, it was not the clean cut above everyone else level of Pain that we got used to seeing in the last split. They looked a bit more fallible, a bit more messy, and that has come through to bite them here today. So many times, as you'd said, Roodood, the hard part was done by Pain. The decision making, the macro was done, and their composition was faring so much better in game number 2. But when it came down to execution, that decision making in the moment, that is what's letting them down.
Still don't think it's completely over for Pain Gaming. Their composition still, by and large, does very well versus what 100 Thieves have to offer. If Titan can finish off that Zonya's hourglass, maybe there's a world where these team fights get so unplayable for River that there's not a lot that he can really do. Even still, though, down 6k gold for 5.5, but even still, it's such a hard fight to try and take. We talked about the parity they needed to be on. They're not there anymore, right? Everywhere on the map has an advantage outside of somehow the mid lane, where Dinkado has got so much gold from being in the side lane.
100 Thieves uncontested on this third dragon. The steals from Pain have at least denied them the soul thus far, so they won't have that extra power to play with as the Baron now spawning as well. Last time, Karaoke was able to forge a path into the pit and steal it away, extending Pain's life for just a little longer, but now they are much further behind, and the task got a lot harder to run a second time.
And almost at this point, Ayla on 2 items on the Pantheon, right? Not, nearly as impactful as FBI or Quid for damage, but can cause a real threat if he's left unchecked. In one of the fights, found a triple kill as a Pantheon support. Definitely not something that you see every day. And for a champion that, we say falls off of a cliff later on, had seemingly found some pretty decent purchase. Start of the Baron, triple True Shot Barrage lands, but what do Pain Gaming have to stop this?
Yeah, this time they're so much further away from the pit. The Weaver's Wall removes any chance of a steal, and 100 Thieves walk away with the buff right now. They have an exposed inhib in bot lane, or a downed inhib, I should say, in bot lane already. Only 2 waves they need to play through. The Jax is now approaching a 4th item and reaching that uncontestable side lane terror state that we had worried about earlier on in the game. And it's going to be up to 100 Thieves to prove that they can manage a simple Baron push. They know that if they get too excited, get too excitable on the engages where they maybe don't need to, Pain's comp can deal with it. But if it just comes to pushing power, Pain are going to be the ones to have to find a way to crack into that.
Yeah, Frozen Heart picked up now for Sniper, and in maybe the 1v1 versus Ambessa, all the armor's going to be very useful, but jumping into these team fights, slowing the attack speed of Dinkado, we're about reaching critical mass for the Jax. That final item comes through, and he is in the full terror stage of what a Jax can do. FBI now, you'd think solo pushing on this top side, but he's got Ayla off in the wings and feels very safe with Flash plus Barrier. And again, we think about what engage tools the Pain Gaming have. Well, unless Curry's going to commit his Flash to a target that is almost definitely going to flash away, there's not really a lot that Pain can do. Able to stall out a little bit in this mid lane, and Baron will go down in another minute and a half's time, but that's plenty enough for 100 Thieves to resecure this bot lane inhibitor, ideally break open mid or bot, and then look to leverage all of that into the soul in 2 minutes' time.
Wiser trying to clean out this Baron empowered wave, but Sniper with the support of Quid keeps it going through, dives in with the counter strike. The ults are being traded back and forth. Daisy's there to assist, but trapped in the minion wave, and River commits more. Dinkado comes in, lovely shuffle back in fact, and Quid will be the first to die in this fight as the rest of Pain have piled in to try and help it. The AD carries going at it in topside. Ayla takes down Dinkado, took the sting out of this Pain 4-stack. All the DPS is down, and the inhibitor falls shortly after. Pain still trying to handle FBI. The Mystic shots are landing, but the Baron empowered wave gives some safety for FBI to play behind as the waves are starting to crash, and once again only the mid lane Nexus turret or mid lane inhibitor turret is still standing.
Yeah, Titan used his barrier on the top side as well in the 1 versus 1 to try and fend off FBI. Wasn't able to. Numps in.
Goes in with the ultimate from FBI. A lovely stasis by Titan, but Karaoke has have a clutch shield. The flash in isn't enough. FBI stasises themselves on low HP, and 100 Thieves now barreling forward. Sniper, the stasis are flying. Everyone's going golden in the base of Pain Gaming as the Nexus turret dives are on. River tacking up these shots, not feeling too good about it. Turns back for the towers, but Curry and Karaoke, they've just got no damage. 100 Thieves step up in the face of the Brazilian squad, and they will take the 2-0, opening up the LTA playoffs.
And it was a close run thing in game number 2, but 100 Thieves, the deserved victors, coming out on top in multiple fights, importantly. Now for the LTA South, this was the number 1 seed versus the number 4 seed. Theoretically, this should be the most likely outcome, right? Where 100 Thieves should be taking this fight, but even still, we got to see some really good things out of our LTA South representatives. And yes, Pain Gaming on the score sheet, it will say they lost 2-0 and they're going to go home now and have that decently long off season. But overall, I think that the 100 Thieves should be going out of this series and into the next one with their heads very hell high.
Yep, they are comfortably out ahead of Pain, completing the 2-0, carrying the LTA North banner ahead into the next round, as they would expect, being that first seed. Pain Gaming's season unfortunately ends here. The first split is done for the previous split CBLOL champions, and they'll have to go back to the drawing board. As we said, there's a lot of tidying up to do, I think, for Pain Gaming. They've lost a little bit of the cleanliness that served them so well in previous splits. It has been a little rough around the edges. Maybe it's just trying to adapt to a new style. Maybe it's a pressure issue. Maybe it's just trying to decide how they want to play the game in this new meta. I'm not sure. But they do seem to have taken a small back step, I guess, in some of the synergistic aspects.
Yeah, and for the 5-man call that made it out into past into the Swiss stage, of Worlds, this is going to be a bit of a knock for them. Maybe not necessarily expecting to represent the Americas again, but certainly would have been hoping for it. And for Pain Gaming as well, there's a little bit of an expectation there that they'd be able to do it as well. Getting knocked out the first round of playoffs, they can be happy that they made it this far, but probably sad that this is where their journey ends. Single elimination brackets, they're brutal. And for a best of 3 as well, feels even more difficult when you think maybe they could have found a fight, could have found a game a little bit later on. But overall, 100 Thieves, again, should be very happy with how they played this one out. And for the mid lane as well, I think Quid coming out very happy with how he played as a whole.
Yeah, I mean, certainly a centerpiece of 100 Thieves has Quid been, and especially in that game 1, put the whole dang team on his back on that Yone, had an exceptional performance, very, very solid on Talia as well. River and Quid, an ever-dynamic duo. Sniper passing out the interview on the stage today, did a pretty serviceable job into Wiser as well, right? We did not really see that Wiser dominance or that power coming out of the top lane from Pain, so Sniper can be very proud of what he's done here today. He looks very chuffed, which I think the man has certainly deserved. So, with that, we're going to throw it to a quick break for now. Just as a side note, thank you everybody. Please, if we need technical and audio feedback, please give it to me. I am the one behind the stream right now. I'm casting at the same time since we don't have our esteemed, wonderful producer here today. So if we have problems, let us know and we will try to fix them as soon as possible. We want the stream to be as good as possible with the resources that we have. So thank you for sticking around. Thank you for the feedback. And we hope you'll stick around for the next series of the day, because after the break, it's going to be Leviathan versus FlyQuest. Another fascinating matchup. The LLA are going to step forward to see if they can do some damage against LTA North just after this.
Worth saying, DPSing as best as he
Composition on display in that fight. 100 Thieves might have to
Good wall.
Wiser is so far.
And it's FBI who sees this.
Thieves. Wave gives some safety for FBI to play behind as the waves are starting to crash, and once again only the mid lane Nexus turret or mid lane inhibitor turret is still standing.
Yeah, Titan used his barrier on the top side as well in the 1 versus 1 to try and fend off FBI. Wasn't able to. Dumps in.
He's in with the ultimate FBI. A lovely stasis by Titan, but Karaoke has have a clutch shield. The flash in isn't enough. FBI stasis is themselves on low HP, and 100 Thieves now barreling forward. Sniper, the stasis are flying. Everyone's going golden in the base of Pain Gaming as the Nexus turret dives are on. River tanking up these shots, not feeling too good about it. Turns back for the towers, but Curry and Hero.
Multiple fights, importantly. Now for the LTA South, this should be
They would expect, but they do seem to have.
The fight could have found a game a little bit later on, but overall, 100 Thieves again should be very happy with how they played this one out. And for the mid lane as well, I think Quid coming out very happy with how he played as a whole.
Yeah, I mean, certainly a centerpiece of 100 Thieves has Quid been, and especially in that game 1, put the whole dang team on his back on that Yone, had an exceptional performance, very, very solid on Talia as well. River and Quid, an ever-dynamic duo. Sniper passing out the interview on the stage today, did a pretty serviceable job into Wiser as well, right? We did not really see that Wiser dominance or that power coming out of the top lane from Pain, so Sniper can be very proud of what he's done here today. Looks very chuffed, which I think the man has certainly deserved. So with that, we're going to throw it to a quick break for now. Just as a side note, thank you everybody. Please, if we need technical and audio feedback, please give it to me. I am the one behind the stream right now. I'm casting at the same time since we don't have our esteemed, wonderful producer here today. So if we have problems, let us know and we will try to fix them as soon as possible. We want the stream to be as good as possible with the resources that we have. So thank you for sticking around. Thank you for the feedback, and we hope you'll stick around for the next series of the day, because after the break it's going to be Leviathan versus FlyQuest, another fascinating matchup. The LLA are going to step forward to see if they can do some damage against LTA North just after this. Welcome back, everybody, to the LTA South. The second series is upon us. 100 Thieves have led the charge for LTA North, defeating Pain Gaming 2-0. Now it is time for our second matchup of the day. Leviathan versus FlyQuest. Leviathan, a surprise success story out of the LLA merger into the LTA South, and FlyQuest, I guess, a surprise drop into the lower half of the top side, having been everyone's kind of favorite out of the gate.
Yeah, it's a peculiar situation where FlyQuest probably were the favourites to be the first seed, and Leviathan were favourites to have a swift exit home. But we found ourselves in the complete opposite now, where we're seeing Leviathan be the number one seed for the LTA South, and they earned it very, very rightly. And I think that
number two seed, close.
Sorry, number two seed.
They probably should have been in that game versus Ancestral, but they ended up just not quite making it.
So even still, the idea that these two teams would be facing off in this manner, not quite where we'd anticipated they would be. However, I'm quietly confident for Leviathan. I mean, I know I was watching again the LTA North before this. We're hyping them up, we're hyping up the North team, saying it's a complete 4-0. They're going to stomp and win every single series. I mean, I'm confident in our top two seeds. I think that Issa Ancestral, I think that Loud as well. They've got to have something to give back. This is a Loud roster that Root at a certain stage is just going to make something happen. But looking at the Leviathan squad and what they have to offer, they've shown quite the significant or growth in development in just the 3 sets that they've played.
Yes, absolutely. We've seen a lot out of this team. They defeated Pain in the upper bracket of the LTA South domestic section. So like that was the first big shock to everyone, right? They took a 2-1 over them, and they've proven their worth at every stage, particularly Cody in the mid lane, coming through from the LLA, Seo in the bot lane, and then paired up with Pro Delta from the Brazilian side. That bot lane, it seems like a match made in heaven down there. And yeah, Cody just blazed onto the scene and started just knocking out everyone that we had in the mid lane. So very, very exciting players there in that mid and bot side. And the top side that were either less known or less trusted names, Scary in the jungle, and then Zothvi up in top side, they have proven to have either, in some senses, maybe grown a lot over the offseason in Scary's position, but also maybe they've just slotted into this roster really, really well. And this formula has come off the ground very, very quickly, and they can be reliable and effective up in top side and then explosive in mid and bot.
And they've exceeded expectations as well, I think, is such a crucial part for the top and jungle, is that Zothvi was this academy player coming up, a little bit of an unknown quantity for myself, but Scary as well had been touted as for the vibes player that Kaboom were using in the jungle when Malrang really didn't work out, but, you know, never really showed us the high highs that we were expecting in terms of raw mechanical skill. But coming into just 2025 has been a standout again in that jungle. And Zothvi on the top side has, first series was a little bit neutered, was playing a lot of tanks, keeping himself to himself, and then doing quite well doing it. But series 2, hey, I'll pull out Ambessa, I'll pull out carries, and I'm more than happy to just destroy them and have a really good performance overall, and manage to find what was an exceptional performance, an exceptional standing in the LTA South.
Yeah, absolutely. You know, we can see like Whippo on our screens right now, and I think that top side matchup is where Leviathan first really started to surprise everybody in how well their top side was doing kind of compared to expectations. And now today, against Whippo and Inspired, kind of the heart of this FlyQuest roster that have been so dominant domestically, Inspired especially, is he's probably just the best jungler in the West and has been for like 2 years, you know what I mean? Like, this is a massive test for Scary to go up against this guy. And then Whippo is such a wily player, so smart about the game, and will punish anyone who does not give his strategies the respect they deserve. So Zothvi and Scary have a very, very big test here today to see if they can keep pumping out that value against the strongest opponents that we've seen for them yet.
Yeah, and I mean, it's not like as well that we're then looking at the other side of the map and going, but on the flip side, Seo and Pro Delta, they're probably going to run Masu and Busio. It's unfortunately a bot lane duo where there is an incredibly stable AD carry. I mean, I haven't casted Masu for 2 years. The last time I got to, he was on a NACL OQ's team called Team Pending, which was a University of St. Thomas boycott of college players, and they just randomly picked up Masu, who's this at the time unknown AD carry from solo queue, and he just popped off. He was going crazy, and they're playing, you know, Mavericks of their time, you know, Marieville University we're talking, and dominating them in, you know, really important high-level games. But Masu has proven to be a solid performer down on that bot side for FlyQuest, and really for every team that he's been a part of. Busio has transitioned into a very fully fledged support player after a couple of shaky starts to his, you know, LCS career. Has moved into now being one of the, if not, you know, top 2, top 3 supports in the North. So it's scary across the map for Leviathan, but I think that the good thing is that they've upset expectations throughout this series so far, throughout the league so far. They're just going to have to keep doing that.
Yeah, that's just kind of the brand that they have built for themselves, is that they will outperform your expectations. You can see the stats for Cody that the casters in the studio are going through right now. This guy puts up insane numbers through the mid lane. 32% damage, average 870 DPM, and, you know, 87% kill participation. This guy's everywhere doing everything from the mid lane. He's so valuable, smashing people from lane to Nexus, exploding. There was just kind of no gaps in the gameplay there. So that matchup against Quad is going to be something very, very interesting to see if he can keep control of that. We're already decently happy with how Dinkato managed that early stage of the game compared to expectations. It was later on that they started to suffer, and that was something that Cody seemed very, very comfortable with as well. There was no really weak part of the game right there. So that mid lane matchup's going to be very close. Obviously, it is heavily affected by the jungle matchup often, and that we've already touched on the dynamic between Scary and Inspired there. So there's a very interesting dynamic developing around that middle portion of the map. And then for Seo and Pro Delta down in the bot lane for Leviathan, I think it's so great that we're getting to see Pro Delta still performing well, having been been brought to the top of the region in multiple teams, multiple times, and then just inexplicably dropped after doing that for no apparent reason. He still wound up on a roster that everyone thought was going to end up being a languishing point for him, and brought them right back to second anyway.
Yeah, we were going into this series already assigning our most Elo held player
Yeah,
before the season had even begun. But
yeah,
I mean, in fairness, Pro Delta has honestly looked like and on a team that's winning so many times is difficult to say, but one of the weaker points of this roster. There was a standout Pantheon game that he had, but equally there are a couple of Leona and Rel games where I'm seeing him
yeah.
go too far forward. And this is Pro Delta, who I, 2 years ago in his rookie split had as the best support in the CB LoL at
Yep.
the time.
Hmm.
Came on with an incredible fire underneath him that he was, really igniting a lot of these bot lane duos and starting to take these 2v2s to shreds. Like you say, moved from this Pain Gaming roster. They decided, he's just not what we need. They bring in Curry, who, in fairness, gets them to Worlds. But Prod's second in charge, second in command, gets moved to VKS. And again, a revitalized VKS roster who you would think could have done great things if
Yeah,
they'd have just stuck it out a little bit longer. But
yeah,
the way we've evolved in the LTA, Pro Delta ends up without a job on any of the 5-6 partnered teams, finds himself on the wildcard roster, and I think that this is honestly the best synergy of what LTA South as a whole has to offer, because it has that hybrid. It's not 5 Brazilian players
yeah.
or 5 Argentinian, 5 Latam players just as a core trying to make something work.
Hmm.
It's best bits from both sides of the LLA CBLOL divide
Yeah.
coming together and already working as a two parts of this side that are already ahead of the curve.
Yeah, absolutely. Bringing in the undervalued talent from Brazil, Scary coming in, being brought in multiple times to fix rosters that were struggling and succeeding in bringing notable upticks every time he does it. And then Pro Delta, who just keeps putting into new rosters, succeeding every time, meshing with different AD carries, putting up results. And then combined with this core from the LLA that has just done so well individually, being supported, by the jungle support, the kind of support staff of Brazil coming in to elevate these LLA carries. It has worked so well for Leviathan. Whether it's good enough to beat FlyQuest, that is going to be another question, because FlyQuest just has the years and years behind them. They've had synergy built up in this 5-stack. Now, keeping a 5-stack from one split and 1 year to the next can be so important to build this up. And it's going to be very telling, I think, how the early parts of this game go.
One of the graphics that got flown a little bit earlier on was tenure of the roster, and since competitive start, where Leviathan are at probably like a little under 28 days, and then we've got FlyQuest
Yeah.
who are at least 2 years, or
Yeah.
knocking a good chunk of time that they've been together.
Yeah.
And a lot of these players as well are just young, or just fresh as well to the scene. Prod's in his third
Yeah.
year, Zothvi in his first split in tier 1 play.
These baby faces.
They are, and for what they've been able to accomplish so far, you can see smiles should be on their faces just for getting here. And I think that for a lot of these players as well, they'll be looking at players on the other side of this rift and thinking, I was looking up to you. Scary in particular, inspired when he was back on Rogue and moving over to NA. Like he'll have been potentially looking at some of these junglers and thinking, yeah, I mean, I've once envisioned playing against you, but now that day has come, and now you've got to try and figure out what this match ends up looking like.
Yeah, it is going to. There's just no way to tell, because for Leviathan, we've gotten so used to just not knowing what they're going to do, not knowing what they're going to pull out, and not being able to predict how well they're going to perform. FlyQuest, we had, I think, a good idea of what we expect from this team. Now, they still ended up coming out in third. They still ended up underperforming expectations themselves in the same way that Pain had last split. So they're stepping out onto the Rift right now, but this is not a team that has stepped back into 2025 as the heir apparent of LTA North and dominated the competition. They are certainly not an unbeatable opponent. They are not a perfect team just yet. Yes, they have the tenure, they have the veterancy, and they have exciting younger talents of their own. That bot lane, you can see Masu and Busu on your screens. They are the potential is just through the roof here. So both these teams have some elements that can be compared, but ultimately FlyQuest does seem like a bit of a final boss kind of to go up with. And again, you mentioned already the single limb being a devastating threat in times like this, when even though you qualified out in second, you're supposed to dodge the most terrifying teams. You're still wound up against FlyQuest somehow.
Like we said, today is somehow where we get to see the LTA ends North Sea first seed and the best team in separate games, which
Yes.
a little bit tricky, right? Not what you'd anticipated going into the first day, and I think this may put a bit of a sour taste in people's mouths going into tomorrow. But this doesn't mean, I should say, that we should be completely writing off Leviathan, and that was sort of the mistake we made at the beginning of the split. And I'm hoping that as we get into this series, we will see that they've got a little bit more fight left in them. I think that for FlyQuest, as we've broken down the lane by lane pretty much, I think that the way they need to win the game is just by keeping Cody in check, and then the rest of the pieces should win on their own. But if we get to see a little bit of spice, a little bit of flair, Zothri potentially goes crazy in a game. We've also got Pro Delta being able to make some kind of crazy plays. There's definitely avenues in.
Yeah, absolutely. And you can see that the vibe is certainly good on Leviathan. Big smiles from all of them coming around. Pro Delta's definitely a smiley guy, and this is, scary. This is the quintessential vibes guy who's now able to put up the numbers on the Rift as well. A very strong prospect coming out of the Brazilian side of that merger. And FlyQuest, all business at their desks. If they were to go down here, that would be a massive blow for LTA North, who have been wondering when they're even going to lose a game in this first round, just assuming that they won't even kind of lose to anybody. So Leviathan have a chance to do the funniest thing possible in this round one.
No, it would be great. And, I was talking a little bit about this on the LPL this morning, where I'm like, it may not be the accurate timeline, but it'd definitely be the funniest one, is if we get to see, the underdogs really upset and find themselves with a pretty decent road into this series. Now, we are already underway with the picks and the bans more specifically. A pretty different look from what we got to see in the first series. FlyQuest respecting Red Side and banning away Skarner and Callista, where Leviathan respecting Inspired, banning away Ivern and Zyra.
Yeah, certainly a different focus coming out here, but it's still an Ambessa first pick. That has not changed. Zothvi now happy to take it again blind. Now, we didn't see the Renekton counter pick last time. We saw instead the Jax coming out, and we know that Whippo can pull out both of these options. We'll see what the options Fly is going to be, or if they are going to leave that till later. I wouldn't expect it. But for now, for FlyQuest, what are we prioritizing in terms of players right now? They've got the Kai'Sa hovered, but for the rest of this phase one, are we just going to lock in a top counter and go bot lane? Is there jungle pick you'd like to see?
Yeah, I think that jungle will still end up being the rule of the roost typically, because if you can deny something away, especially when there's 4 jungle bans already off the rip, you can secure yourself already just a really solid front to back by taking this jungle. And there is also small world where the Ambessa gets flexed into the mid lane. Again, worth saying, we're not expecting it; it's not anticipated, but Cody might be able to pull a flex if they end up putting a tricky matchup super early into that mid lane. So Leviathan want to preserve that flex for as much as possible. I think that taking jungle to match here, it makes Leviathan's next 2 picks quite simple as well. They just match AD carry and jungle, and they're going to opt into just, some good territorial warfare, I suppose, with the saplings, and then some good poke as well with the Ezreal.
Yep. The Ezreal, a solid counter coming out into these long-range combinations, can put some distance between himself and Varus, avoid that ultimate threat that Masu is going to have as the game scales forward. So we now still need a mid laner, we still need support from Leviathan, and we'll see what the last pick for Fly is going to be. And we didn't see any Mel in that last series. I don't think we even saw it banned. Neither team wanted to go towards it, but FlyQuest look like they have locked it in. So we have the blind, in theory, Mel into mid lane, assuming Ambessa stays where she is. Now, what are we doing to deal with this? How are we dealing with a blind Mel in this day and age?
I think Victor. Oh, yeah. Okay. Victor's a really good matchup into the Mel, typically. Fortunately enough, FlyQuest know this, and they've taken it away. You're mainly looking at champions that don't have big things to rebuttal. So Azir as well, not awful, just because he, stabs a lot, and none of that is particularly reflectable, but you can, stop a little bit of the damage. What it is really terrifying as a pick already is Maokai ulti will get reflected. So you can't do that if the Mel has W, because Quad will walk forward loud and proud and send it back to you. A big return to sender.
All 5, or just the one that...
I'm pretty sure it does. I'm pretty sure it's all 5. It reflects the ability. And the ability is 5. We'll have to wait. I'm sure... Honestly, I'm not sure if we'll see the interaction come through, to be honest, because it would be terrifying. And by extension, it's on Leviathan to find timings where Quad either isn't there or doesn't want to use his W, or they've got something to punish the fact that the Mel has no W.
Yeah, we as we get through the rest of the bans, the top lane focus on Leviathan, Cassante, Poppy, and the Bard removed by Fly. In fact, and just to call it out, it's just a funny message in the chat, is that someone in the chat has claimed with their first message that it is just one, and their name is Stackable 5. So I trust them on this issue. They seem like they're bought in to that. So we'll see if it actually is. There is some dissension going on there, but I just thought that was quite enjoyable. As the Volibear has been dropped in topside.
Okay, well, that's going to be the answer, I suppose, to the Ambessa that we'd not anticipated by any capacity. But what Leviathan have done is drafted themselves some good DPS from the back of this. I love Cody being able to play the Talia. I think this gives him a little bit of playmaking. And it also, again, one of those picks that I have CC that is not stoppable by the rebuttal either. So if, the Mel gets picked up by that, she's going to get carted away anyway, right? Yes. That's the thing.
Rakan coming in as the final pick right there to line up with the Varus there for Busio. So Prodelta's gone back to the usual rel. This is just kind of the baseline pick for Prodelta, even if with all engages available and kind of all else being the same, rel will be the choice. So we're going to expect to see some roams. Prodelta very active on the map at the best of times, and with an Ezreal AD carry, we'd expect to see even more of that. So how they link up with Cody and Scary is going to be kind of the key. It tends to be the key to Leviathan's early game. And for FlyQuest, we have a similar kind of situation. Reminds me of that first game from 100 Thieves, where we've got double tanks, simple backliners and an engager support. It's a very classic front to back composition, and I maybe think we're just trying to outvalue and out fundamental Leviathan here today. And if you're a team like FlyQuest with the experience you have, it's probably a decent strategy.
Yeah, and it's not like it's coming from nowhere either. It's definitely giving we are just better, and we'll hands check you to prove it. So the emphasis then is on Leviathan to prove that they're up to the standards of FlyQuest, that they can compete in these cross-conference games. Second versus third seed on paper without context. Leviathan, they're the higher seed. It should be closer than our first series, and hopefully it is, because otherwise, we've got two teams immediately knocked out from the LTA South, and Raz is going to have a massive ego. It's going to get stroked even more, and it's just not what we need.
No one wants Raz to have an ego, man. That's the one thing that nobody either side of the LTA.
He's already doing TikTok dances for free. We don't need his brain getting any bigger.
No, we need to put a stop on that ASAP. Yes. Okay, Leviathan, lock in, right? Because we don't want...
It's not for the LTA South. It's for Raz's ego.
Stop Raz. Someone's got to stop this man, right? Let's head on to the Rift, okay? Time to put up or shut up, Leviathan. Let's see if we can ride this one a little better than game number 1 today. Let's head on to the Rift, everybody. So, Leviathan, FlyQuest, opening up with another best of 3 Fearless right here in the LTA playoffs. A kind of the pillar of the LTA North in FlyQuest, and the upstarts of LTA South in Leviathan. Already, the upstarts are making aggressive maneuvers. 4-man stack, heading into that topside jungle.
Okay, no flash W from Scary there, so not quite as committed to the bit as I might have hoped. However,
for sure.
Exactly. And we get to see that they are looking to scout out these lane swaps. We saw this a bunch in the LTA South as well, so it is just a fact to make sure you know where your duo lane is going and where the enemy's duo lane is going. By extension, Whippo had already made his way into the top lane, instead channels recall, and they're going to send Marsu and Busio presumably to clear this ward. Busio has that sweeper in his inventory, but they're just playing for as long as possible. You can see them hiding and sort of hoping that Leviathan are going to play this guessing game themselves. Looks like swap for swap, so both top laners going to end up matching, you'd like to think, down on that bot side, but without this information, Leviathan, they don't know where to send Zothri. Do they send him into that bot lane? Do they send him into the mid lane? They're a little bit lost at the minute.
They've currently sent him into trade onto quad and get a health advantage, as right now Bwipo is just kind of double jungling with Inspired, helping start up that first buff, and is now heading down to the wave. Zothri will be arriving there a little behind the curve as the bot laners meet finally in top.
And I think the XP rat race that I like to talk about is going to be the really important part, as they're actually fighting already top.
We're just going. We're just dropping ignites and everything.
All right.
Leviathan are throwing the gauntlet down at 2 minutes.
Okay, I respect it. I mean, Busio takes Q level 1, which means he doesn't have the knock-up to threaten back. It does mean that the longer trades are going to be a little more favourable for FlyQuest on that top side. And level 2/4 quad means he gets to reflect one of the projectiles being tossed back into Cody's back pocket. But I do think that Whippo comes out largely on top in the top lane matchup in the bot lane, because he gets to get to the experience that little bit faster. And just by the duo of FlyQuest hiding themselves that little bit longer, they're actually able to keep themselves away.
Yeah, we can see Zothvi struggling to pick up CS right now. Whippo always threatening with that Volibear. The trades are so strong. Inspired doesn't quite get to follow up. The Solo Slayer did not land onto Cody. Didn't at least get the root from the center. So Cody just takes some damage, but will not be hard engaged on. Drops a ward on the back end of that play, as the Leviathan are able to shepherd in almost, or just about shepherd this wave in.
It's about there. It's as good as it needs to be. Unfortunately, their jungler is on this side of the map as well. Worth looking at the jungle pathing going on right now, as we get to see that Inspired is actually taking away the red buff, and I think had already denied the Raptors as well from Scary. So it looks like he's coming out largely on top in this jungle trade as well, where Scary's, I think, lost one of his camps, so he's going to get 5 out of 6 that you normally do, and Whippo looking to proxy here means that he's going to be able to channel a recall very early. Zothvi won't be able to stop this for fear of Inspired stopping him and, finding a quick kill. So Whippo gets to cheat a little bit of tempo here. What does he do with this time? Does he move back out to the top side, go back down to the bot lane just with a better recall? Have to wait and see, but so far so good for the Volibear.
Yeah, absolutely. Making the best use of this counter pick, opted for it by Whippo here. If anyone has a spicy counter pick to fix a broken matchup, it's usually Whippo. He's always got the technology there, as ProDelta misses the stun and gets a W back in his face, has to crash down to avoid getting those Blight stacks procced. Takes a bad health trade for it, though.
But it's all in an effort to deny this FlyQuest topside. Now, ward's just gone down from Marsu that spots Scary if he ever tries to go and make a play. But overall, FlyQuest here just about able to step up, crash this wave, and the ward giving them the safety that they needed to be able to do so. Zothvi still not been able to find a recall, so all of these trades going to be beneficial for Whippo, who didn't burn teleport. That's the advantage that he gets from proxying the wave. He can walk down to the bot lane, miss nothing, and still be ahead in experience.
Yeah, has the ability to go into that early tier as well, not even needing to go into raw kind of offensive, defensive stats with this matchup, with the tempo he has. You see he's got the biscuits as well. Happy to just force these trades, extend the CS lead, and really start to shut Zothvi out of the game. This blind pick Ambessa suffering already in game number 1. Leviathan will see what they want to do to answer this one, if they want to try and find a counterplay. ProDelta already roaming towards the mid lane. I would not have expected him to hang around in top for very long, and that is indeed the case.
I mean, he's done one level longer than the supports are supposed to, right? Normally when I'm playing support, it's hit level 3 and then leave Ezreal as soon as possible. He stuck around to level 4, which, Sayo I think is going to be quite grateful for. But it's worth remembering as well, Leviathan have got this double tier carry threat, so we'll hold that as Whippo might look for a dive.
Scary's coming, but will he be here in time? The stun chain is so good, a flash forced from the Ambessa. Keep him alive, but loses that crucial summon on Maokai. Now still having to hang around, knows that there is still threat here.
Yeah, so again, just a little bit of an advantage being accrued by Whippo. Now as he hits level 6 as well, Zothvi really can't stay under this turret alone. Fortunately enough, has the support of Scary there, but Inspired already ahead of the play, makes his way onto the dragon, going to use Whippo's advantage to find another objective. Well, I say another, but the first one of this game, which is just completely not responded to. Normally we'll see a trade, the grubs for a dragon, but Leviathan in absolutely no position to trade this, as Scary's just taking away his own Krugs on the bot side.
This is what we would expect from a team like FlyQuest, to use the draft to open up that lane advantage, execute on it, turn that into tempo, and then have the first move onto Dragon, and the leads just start to snowball for them when they're coming out very comfortably from this early game. ProDelta misses the stun but finds the W. Busio knocks him up in return. Sayo peppering some damage into Maso on the other side. And the trades continue to be kind of modest in this top side, nothing too massive from either side. Scary now arrives on the grub camp, but Inspired's on the side of the map too.
Yeah, and I think this comes down to now where Cody's sort of being able to shine so frequently in the mid lane was being able to move on crucial timers. Yes, he's a little bit down in form, but you can see if he needs to move to these grubs rather, he's going to be the first one there, and that's the important part for Leviathan. They're going to find all three of them. Scary still has Smite to secure this final grub on his way out, and that's a nice little pickup for the Leviathan squad as Bwipo now looking for Zoth, a really big trade.
Does not connect with the Sky Splitter, but it doesn't matter. This matchup just seems brutal, Roodood. I don't know, Zothby
Yeah.
with a single pickaxe into the chain armor and the Ruby Crystal already from Bwipo as the bot laners continue to trade it out, but no one really getting much purchase. Level 6s will be approaching. Varus and Rakan can be deadly on the engage in that state, but really, Leviathan, I think the onus is on them to find some way to break it back right here, because top lane is just going from bad to worse. Inspired with level 6 as well heads up onto this top side. Say on Pro Delta, they've got to be very careful.
Yeah, and I mean the way that this 2v2 matchup, I think is the easiest way of me describing it, is playing out not very well.
Level 6 occurred by Masu, and just like that, Pro Delta aggressed on backsteps on the Sejuani, forces the Varus to come a little further forward out of mana as well. Scary and Cody are in there, but do they have enough damage to sort this one out? Still a 3 versus 3, but the Varus are already down, the wave coming in, and Leviathan just do not have the damage to find a counter.
Nor the CC either. Scary, not able to find really anything with that first Maokai ultimate. Twisted Advance not particularly well leveraged either, and Masu with Flash, with Cleanse, not having to burn any of them, is able to find the first blood of this game and walk out for free. That small sequence of events is just going to go from bad to worse, as Leviathan now might look for a fight onto Bwipo, but even with the public execution and Pro Delta in his pocket, Zothri doesn't feel confident jumping in.
For Delta circling around and may look for another play here, but yeah, Bwipo with the flash, the ultimate, there's no real threat. Zothri should just soak up this wave, and he will do so, but it's now 25, 24 CS down, assuming Zothri gets all of these under the tower. It is really stretching away from him. In that top lane matchup rotated through as FlyQuest are approaching 2k lead themselves purely off the laning prowess. In the LTA South, teams like Furia are able to get this one done, and they're very hard to come back against when they have the lead, but FlyQuest are executing a very clean early game themselves. Busio hiding in the brush right now, waiting if something can be done. The ult is available for Rakan, still level 5 for Pro Delta, just does not have the same options.
Yeah, and his shattering strikes as well have been largely evaded so far in this laning phase, and it's making any form of his combos be really difficult to connect on. And it is then that mechanical prowess that FlyQuest really do have, and that Leviathan, we were coming in expecting them to potentially struggle a little bit more with than anything else. But even still, I think that moving into this mid-game, right, this is a double-tier composition for Leviathan. They're going to hit that mid-game spike really hard. So whether or not they can get there where they've got, an opportunity to fight at all. Because the mid-game for FlyQuest as well, they've got a tier on Varus, they've got that tier on Bwipo as well. They're stacking up quite nicely as well. And I do just favour Mel. I think this champion is sorely underrated from our first series, if that's anything to talk about, and incredibly powerful if Quad is going to get this time to just sit back, scale, and not really feel any threat.
Yeah, FlyQuest happy to just play these matchups out. They know what they're doing, and they're not being effectively challenged thus far. No one is able to break through that game plan that Fly has put together, as Leviathan just slowly fall further behind through this laning phase. Still one camp apiece for each side, so that feat's still very much on the table. All 3 feats, in fact, very much on the table. That bot lane tower, of course, looking a little worse for wear. Could be ripe for Fly's pickup later on. If Zothvi is ever pushed entirely out of this lane or rotates away to try and fix a fight, Bwipo will likely be able to put a lot of damage into it.
Yeah, I think that the most realistic course of action is just Bwipo ults under the turret to kill Zothri with the help of Inspired. Maybe Quad finds a timer to move as well, and then that turret probably gets forfeited as a formality more than anything else. Now those grubs have spawned on the top side. Don't have first items really for anybody other than Quad, who farming exceptionally well in this game, already has the Blackfire Torch and some shoes as well. So definitely not a type of place that you really want to be looking to contest.
Yeah, the inventory power just is not there for Leviathan yet. Instead, they're trying to take control of this mid wave again. They get a knockback onto Inspired, but no damage really. And Seo loses 40% of his HP. Just trying to clean up this minion wave. Quad is already really starting to sting. The Blackfire Torch doing a heck of a lot of work, and FlyQuest have all the room in the world to step onto this grub camp.
Yeah, and Bwipo, in case the ego wasn't enough of how well he's been playing out this laning phase, how far ahead FlyQuest seem to think that they are, he just teleports down to that bot side, right? Completely away from the objective that his team are trying to take, knowing that there's no way that Leviathan can contest. Yes, they're going to be able to secure themselves a dragon on the backside of this, but even still, I think that the idea of Bwipo TPing down to that bot side is so indicative of their attitude toward this series.
Absolutely. Fly crashing this wave in. Hextech Rift here in game number 1. Both sides with a dragon apiece, as Leviathan were able to pick up that Infernal as the trade. But again, it's kind of one step behind FlyQuest. Even on the objective trades, they're not able to pick them up on the same timers. And you can see across the board those gold leads just passively growing and growing. Top lane being a bit of an outlier. Bwipo very, very far ahead. And someone is going to have to deal with this Volibear going on late. And it's probably going to have to be Cody, because I don't think anyone else is going to really have the DPS to work with that one.
We're not in the days of blue build Ezreal anymore, where Blade of the Ruin King is a tried and true Ezreal item. So the tank shred capabilities on an Ezreal, definitely not as high as we might have once seen. It's worth mentioning that Scary probably going to have a Leandries this game. The Ambessa as well. Not going to do no damage versus the Volibear, but if they are hitting the Volibear, that's systemic of another problem that we might want to talk about. But that Leandry's being finished for Scary should be a little bit of a boon for Leviathan. They've now got a little bit of combat power to try and trade back with. Most likely going to be noticeable around the Rift Herald, which spawns in 2 minutes 30. And for the time being, they have swapped Zothvi into a slightly more favourable matchup as Cody.
Oh, there's the aggression. Bwipo and Inspired just clinical onto the Talia in bot side.
And Cody is dead. So that's the issue with putting the Talia versus the Volibear. Yes, they can probably sustain the 1v1. Hold on, let's see. What happens with the ulti? Oh, I was wrong.
Just the one. Okay, it's just one by the look of it. And it gets back to wave 3 versus 2. Can Busio fix this? The double knockup is there, and Bessa goes deep, but the Rakan charm will slow them down, and Quad's doing so much damage. They at least find the trade. It's 1-for-1. Busio likely to find more. Masu might be gifted it. In fact, Zothvi, is he TPing away right now? There he goes. Zips away to safety.
Later.
And Cody's flying in to take his place.
All right, well, I mean, they get Scary out. It takes 2 teleports, and they get a 1-for-1 on that top side. Overall, I mean, FlyQuest will absolutely take that, because if we take a look at the bot side, Bwipo is free to farm and free to push, free to take really what he likes. Found that bot tier 1 turret off the back of the kill that they were able to get. Yet Cody, he can clear the waves, but he's exceptionally squishy and ends up falling because of that. FlyQuest seeming to move their pieces around the map just that little bit better now as well. They've had the hands check in the first 5-10 minutes of this game, and now we're starting to see the map open up. FlyQuest are the ones moving better around it.
Leviathan tried to get a Demolish proc on that top lane tower, but did not feel safe doing so. This is kind of the dream Volibear game. You just kind of have a matchup that you're hard winning in a melee scrap. You get just enough jungle attention to make sure it's definitely winning, and then you're just incentivized to just go back to your lane on repeat and push towers, and the game just kind of wins itself. Like, it's kind of just the optimum experience for Volibear top players.
The game just wins itself. And I mean, Cody here, there's nothing to do, right? The observing is brutal. You get hit by every piece of CC and you're dead before it comes back. I mean, again, it's just the one that gets sent back. So shout out to Stackable54 in the chat for knowing the interactions better than I. However, the fact that Pro Delta falls here, maybe the best case scenario, and Busio flashing in to make sure that that is the case. Zothvi able to get out, a little bit of a saving grace more than anything, and Scary picking up the kill is the disaster, really, to add on to that Fort Leviathan. They would have loved for that to go to the Ambessa, but just not the case, as Winter's Approach is finished for Bwipo, and he's going to have that Fimble Winter nice and soon as well. He's trying to do what he can in this bot side jungle, because, I mean, again, we're looking at the farm. Very infrequent that top laners have the most CS in the game, but Bwipo this time round has done nothing but farm, except for that really good play onto Cody.
Yeah, the Feat of Warfare was picked up by Fly as a result of that as well. One left. Actually, they've already got the tower, so they've already secured it, already locked in with the Triumphant Boots. If it wasn't bad enough, they now step up towards this top side to work on the Herald. Dragon coming up soon, and Leviathan keeping an eye on how this is progressing, but it does feel very difficult to find a crack in the armor for FlyQuest right now, who are not playing at a breakneck speed. They're playing very methodical, but their method has been flawless from the first minute of this game, and there's been no effective answer from Leviathan just yet. As they try to crash in a mid-wave, they'll get a Demolish Brock at least, but look at topside, this is going down for sure.
Yeah, Marsu joins up with Quad. They've got Inspired in the wings as well. Cody, going to be able to defend the tier 2 turret, but that's a very little consequence when you're getting nothing back on the flip side. Zothby's pushed in a wave. What's he doing with that time? Oh, he's recalling. Okay, cool, but that's not anywhere near the value that this gold is going to get you. Leviathan not able to find anything down on this up on this top side, and Drake spawning down in the bot lane. Maybe they're going to have tempo to move down there, but Scary's farming his Krugs. We're seeing Sayo go back to base, and Bwipo is able to push out this wave. They're either going to have to contest the Drake with little to no vision, or just catch these waves and be late to the party.
Yeah, the doors slowly closing across the map for Leviathan. Dragon up now, FlyQuest heading out onto that south side to see if they can start it up. And again, we're waiting to see what the answer, if anything, is going to be from Leviathan. We need to, at some point, something has to be attempted, or it will just be a slow, gradual decline into invisibility, and your Nexus will kind of just fall over. It's not going to explode, it will just kind of dust in the wind. It's blow away.
It's one of these games where I'd much rather see a team lose quickly because they tried to do something than just bleed out. And that feels like the path that Leviathan are opting into at the minute. ProDelta hasn't really looked for any miracle engages, and I think that in fairness, when he's been looking for these fights, you can see, Busio just pound for pound has the jukes on these shattering strikes, and he's not really looking for really big crash downs, those big engages that we're so used to seeing from ProDelta, which, in a contrast from his group stage, his regular season, however we want to frame it, is an upgrade, right? He's not throwing his life away so frequently, but equally, he's the one who's going to have to look for these engages.
Yeah, it's a fine line for supports to walk along. As the Herald crashes into that mid lane, does not crack the mid lane tower just yet, but it's a little bit more damage, a little bit more value in the pockets of FlyQuest, as now we've rotated Bwipo up into that top side. We'll just see which side lane he chooses to terrorize for the next few minutes. As he's heading down, it looks like, spoilt for choice at this point. Any one of them could be under threat from him, and as we said, who's really going to deal with him? Cody has a lot of work to do there, but still sitting only on the Seraphs. DPS isn't super high yet. Leviathan at least able to take up a bit of a position in the bot lane river, but it's really just a vision line.
And maybe Cody can start working on that top tier 1 turret. It looks like it's on some relatively low HP, but if Cody can pick it up, that might be a little bit of gold that goes into their back pocket. He probably could have sniped it and used his Weaver's Wall to get out to safety, in fairness, but Bwipo's actually going to let this die to deny the local gold. Relatively smart as well, because that little bit of injection that somebody on Leviathan might have looked to go claim a little bit later on is not going to be there anymore.
Yeah, and a little bit of saving grace cannot be found on the map just now. Atakan is coming up in 15 seconds. I'm thinking Voracious for this game. I don't know about you.
Yeah, me too. Something's telling me.
So, but that might be, we're now getting to the point of the game where the objectives are spawning that kind of enable the team that is very ahead like Fly to step up and force Leviathan to make that call that we're looking for, to make them try and find a way to break the pattern. Otherwise, those buffs are just too much to handle, and they will accelerate Fly's victory. So we're coming to the breakpoint for Leviathan where they need to find a solution. If they can't find one, just go for something, because there's nothing else to do.
And really, they'd like to hit that 2-item mark for Sayo. That Muramana would be such a big boost, but I think getting him there in time is just not possible. And they've got the first items finished across their top side, but that's not really enough to contend with 2 items on Quad, 2 items on Bwipo, 2 items on Marsu. Just pound for pound, this 3,000 gold lead is distributed so perfectly that FlyQuest have the advantage going into this next fight, and that's not really anything that Leviathan can do anything with right now, and they kind of have to deal with the fact that they're just behind. And that's a difficult position to try and find yourself in, even as far as support's getting their first item. Busio going back to base now, is that a redemption that he's going to be picking up? But that's not really anywhere near being finished for ProDelta, as he might be working towards a locket to finish off some sort of help himself.
Yeah, he's kind of got the choice. Not much pressure on him so far. Completes the back and doesn't, in fact, finish the item still. We'll wait and see what it ends up, what the choice is going to be for him. Whippo back to all reliable, back to bullying Zothvi in the bot lane. It works for him most of this game as a whole item ahead right now, and flies in, slaps him down a couple of times, and there is just no damage to be done in return. So no harm done, I suppose.
Hold on, there are 4 people from Leviathan walking. Never mind, they all ran away immediately. Well, they thought about trying to kill Whippo and decided better of it. I think that if they'd have shown so many people down on that bot side, the Atacon would have been forfeit already. It's going to be really difficult for them to try and contest, don't get me wrong, but I think that Atacon is one of those objectives that you can look to contest even if you are behind, right? The sapping of resources means that the majority of fights can be winnable if you take them appropriately, and FlyQuest for the time being, just biding their time. They're under no pressure in this game.
A bit of damage onto Inspired. A flash has to come out there. Quad steps up to reflect the critical cat, and it will fire back right there. So finally, Fly forced to blink in any way in this game, and they will lose that one from that aggressive positioning. Leviathan does have something to offer, but we're not able to pick up anything real off it.
And for now, Leviathan, that's a small win for them. But FlyQuest, they'll just look back. Okay, well, Drake's up in 20 seconds. Let's reset expectations, make sure that we're okay for the Drake fight, and make sure that we're not going to lose out on something for nothing. Because if they go up to that Atacon, can cause an issue. Coming down to this Dragon, a much lesser investment from them, and they don't need to play so safely around it, let's say. Now, obviously, Pro Delta wants to see if they're going onto this Drake, but misses the ward as well, which is not ideal to get it over the wall, as Busio's going to walk in and clear it out in his face.
Cody trying to get control of this top wave with a TP in hand, but unlikely for Leviathan to contest this. You can see them just heading through to that mid lane. They're going to let the Hextech Soul Point go over to FlyQuest. It is another very impactful Drake Soul here. FlyQuest, with the position they have, does again bring up another position where Leviathan will be forced to make something of that Soul Point in 5 minutes' time if there's been nothing to drag them out into action thus far, as the Atacon still waits patiently in that top river for anyone to go and make friends with it.
And as well, if you look at the topside jungle, there's a really important deep ward that Whippo could look to TP on. If they do look to take a fight around that Atacon, they can sort of bait in Leviathan, say, okay, yeah, come and contest us, but we're going to send Whippo into your backline off the back of that TP. Whether or not that gets spotted or it expires, we'll have to keep our eyes on it. But for the most part, it's really up to FlyQuest, or rather up to Leviathan, to make something happen, because FlyQuest are just, even though they're only 3,000 gold ahead, feels like they are so much further in control of this game. All of the momentum has been in their favor, and they have dictated everything so far.
Yeah, absolutely. Leviathan trying to control some vision around the Atacon, but Fly ready to come back and push them, ready to come back and contest. Quad still very, very far ahead on this Mel, can offer a lot of poke damage. Busio,
no.
Hexteching into a flank position for Delta, heading him off at the pass as Leviathan start up the Atacon, but quickly peel back as they see what's coming around the corner. And they will allow it to reset. Whippo holds on to his teleport critically as well. Does drop the recall and might just walk his way over it and then TP back down once he's done.
I mean, he's 3 items on the volley bear right now. Like, he is just invincible in these team fights. Can't imagine for a second that he's going to go down. Level 16 as well. Outpacing the carries by 2 levels, Zothvi by 1 as well. And yes, there's a Black Cleaver in Zothvi's inventory, but I don't think that's going to be nearly enough to cut through the amount of healing that's coming from Grasp as well. And yet, brute force.
Yeah, down it comes. Shuts off the tower, jumps through here. Scary, the first to fall. The TP comes in, but Zothvi is dropped right into the lion's jaws and will be eliminated on the backside. Flash away does Pro Delta to keep himself alive, but the tower is done. Fly have what they need, and they rotate up towards topside. Cody gets caught, actually. They look to turn around.
Okay.
Flashing in for the root, drops the ultimate. It's another Leviathan member down. Pro Delta crashes down over the wall to try and get to safety. Whippo hounding him through the jungle. If he can get to the Nexus wall, maybe there's a chance, but nobody can stop this bear right now. Sayo, the last man standing, can only watch as a flashing from Whippo takes his cleanse and his flash out of his hands to make it go from bad to worse.
And Whippo's had enough of this game. 3-1 to begin. Now turns the fight 7-1 in favor of FlyQuest as your overall kill score. He'll handle Sayo. He'll handle the tier 2 turret, while the rest of FlyQuest turn their attention up toward that Atacon. Quad as well, with a lethal flash forward, catches Cody unawares, takes him out of the fight as well. So the DPS that FlyQuest may need to be fearful of absolutely gone as well. And it is all Bwipo here. Starts this off, tanks the turret, turns off said turret. And again, what can Scary do in this situation? He's CC'd for the entire duration he's in the fight. Zothvi teleports in, into a Mel route, into 4 people diving on him immediately. And FlyQuest, they use Inspired in the back half. They use Bwipo in the front half just as that front line, as that threat to keep the Ezreal at bay. And now they're going to look for another fight, which, again, Leviathan cannot win.
The committal from FlyQuest again, the confidence only more intimidating as Zothvi will not make it back to safety. This is the FlyQuest that we expected to see in 2025, the indomitable force just crushing all the way across the map, showing that quality in every aspect, and Leviathan have not been given a second to breathe in game 1 of this series.
Yeah, I think Cody trying to make the best of what is a very bad situation, trying to take a tier 1 turret, scrounge just a little bit of gold back for himself, and, you know, maybe successful in doing that. But FlyQuest, they're taking the Baron, they've got Atacon at their back as well. Their soul spawns in 50 seconds. Also, the game doesn't get much easier for FlyQuest from here. This is, I mean, in 50 seconds time, the likelihood is they're going to have soul, they're going to have Baron, and they're going to have 7,500 gold lead.
Yeah, and it will be simply a formality to close this game up. Leviathan perhaps thinking about what they're going to do in the next game through this Fearless Draft, inspired, aggressively hex-teching forward. It's going to go straight onto a seismic shove, but doesn't really take much damage for the trouble. Masu and Busio ready to back him up if required, but the Sejuani will simply muscle the Leviathan squad out of their own bot side jungle, dropping down the pinks, preparing for this game-concluding soul.
Yeah, and Quad also just taking that portal again. Just gives you the state of the game where your mid laner feels confident dashing in over the battle lines drawn by your support and your jungler. He's just playing off on the wings here, knows he can retreat back to Bwipo, and knows he can zone off as well.
Malkael comes out, Busio on the flank. Sayo already had to evac to safety. Bwipo just heads into the backline and dares anybody to challenge him. He drops pretty low, has to ult back to safety. Dragon committed though. There's the Hextech Soul, and just like that, FlyQuest fly into the rest of the fight. The damage is fired back at them. A kill is taken, but Leviathan, it is small potatoes to what has been taken in their face. FlyQuest with the Baron, with the Soul, with everything they need to wrap up game 1.
The 2 carries are able to limp away from Leviathan. Scary, not able to get in for a steal. Bwipo once again, health as a resource, steps forward, tanks up Leviathan so they can't step through him, and secures the soul for his team. It's this Volibear. We saw it come in as 4th pick, as the answer to the Ambessa. Complete off the wall, wasn't anticipated, and yet Bwipo has found himself with a great little sequence here.
Cody attempts to find Masu in the bot side. Weaver's walling in, cannot save the tower, cannot catch the Varus. FlyQuest will escape back to safety as Scary is now sending it into their side of the map over the portal. Nature's Grasp in onto Inspire to knock them back. Pro Delta looking for more, but the damage is far behind for Leviathan. There's just no follow-up. And FlyQuest, delayed as they may be, will happily stroll back to safety.
Now, this game's over, right? But if we're getting benefits, drawing silver linings from this, Leviathan did find a kill in this fight, right? I think this is a great example of Bwipo again, HP making sure that he's using as much of it as possible before he dips back out, ducks back in, and the Leviathan carries are playing this fight about as well as they can do, keeping themselves out of distance from the damage, and pumping out as much damage as they can as well. Unfortunately, the front line for FlyQuest is just that little bit too tanky, and a little bit too damaging as well in the Volibear's case, as he's now finished a 4th item of the Spirit Visage. So without any anti-heal so far as well on this Leviathan side, how we kill Bwipo is still a question that needs answering.
Yeah, and it is a question they may not have time to answer before the Nexus in game 1 crumbles amid the assault from FlyQuest. Another dive onto that top lane tower. The flashes room from Leviathan. They survive for now. Masu under threat in the backline. Zothvi completes an assassination as Bwipo trying to do the same on the reverse. Down goes Ambessa. The tower still corralling Bwipo in. Can they get the DPS? There's the healing! 2,000 HP! Floods back into Bwipo. You can see him laughing away on the player cams, and why not? Somehow he survives.
Yeah, these items are fine, by the way. There's no reason for them to get nerfed next patch at all. Bwippo, though, I mean, I was terrified to say this, but I really didn't think he was going to die there. Even surrounded by
Yeah.
4 people, there's always that extra little bit, the volley bear passive healing coming through, the W healing, I should say, and then the proc from the Unending Despair as well. It was all a little too much for Leviathan, and it looks like, maybe with Zoffy finding the kill onto Marsu and they trade 2 for 1 overall, this is as good a fight as they're going to get. Zoffy getting into the backline here, forces cleanse and flash from Marsu, able to take him out. Exceptional from the Leviathan top laner. Unfortunately, he doesn't have 5,000 health, and he's healing 2,000 of it every 5 seconds.
Yeah. FlyQuest fan enjoyed that one, loved to see it, and why not? Her team is popping the heck off in game number 1, throttling Leviathan across all areas of the map. Props to Zothvi for making something work down there, and Seo still topping the damage chance. That's the classic Israel conundrum. 3 items deep and peppering away with the Mystic Shots. Zothvi goes for the ult to Masu again, can't find it. Cody,
oh my God, Cody
sends himself right into the backline, but cannot get the job done. Busio will be traded on the other side, and Bwippo again holding that line. Masu just does not have the threat against him. And finally, Leviathan decided to pull the trigger. There's a lovely little snipe from Seo to make sure the Varus falls. So that might just keep this game rolling for a little longer.
Well, let's see how they clear the wave in the face of Quad, in the face of Bwippo and Inspired, who between them have about 10,000 health and an Ezreal. As much of a can-do attitude as Seo has had this game, the only person on his team not to have fallen, but even with all of those attributes, trying to take down any, like we say, this FlyQuest front line is just so difficult. Ezreal is not a tank killer, and maybe that Vamp is going into a Blade of the Ruin King, right? But even still, he's so far away from getting that you just think FlyQuest, they're 10,000 gold to the good. They can't put a foot wrong, even when they do.
It is almost impossible to make a misplay at this point in the game. As Scary tries to step into his own jungle, bless him, and does not manage to achieve too much from it. Seo gets, oh my word, he just explodes. Quad has no mercy on this Mel in game number 1. Prodelta now does not have the ability to get away. Bwippo diving in, forcing more defensive summoners out of Seo. And he is still getting clipped by the stuns. He's got a pretty short E cooldown at this point in the game, but it's not short enough. The emotes are coming out. Fly are feeling good in game number 1. You can see a smile on Seo's face. Knows that this game was done about 20 minutes ago, to be honest. And it has just been the dotting of I's and crossing of T's from FlyQuest, who now have the kills they need. They'll march it down mid lane and should be wrapping this one up.
It's 34 minutes. It's a pretty decent novel. We're talking Deathly Hallows Part 2 in length, but even still, this is FlyQuest just running home with this victory.
Yeah, a little victory lap around the Leviathan Nexus right here. The tower still to be taken down. Leviathan off the fountain, in fact, and are still giving it the old college try, trying to kill Bwippo. A bit of a needless endeavor. Prodelta goes in and gets more damage onto Masu. Again, pretty much the only champion from FlyQuest to have died a number of times is the Varus. But it will not stop this game wrapping up. So FlyQuest can be very, very confident coming out of this first game. As I said, this is the FlyQuest we expected to see. This is the FlyQuest people expected to dominate the LTA North, let alone head out in 3rd seed. But even if it was a little late, they have certainly arrived here today.
And this now presents a pretty big conundrum for Leviathan, because they will have come in and they will have decided, yes, blue side is how we want to play the game. We would like blue side, please.
Yes.
And they now go into a second draft where they have to go, well, if we get blue side, it means Bwippo gets counter pick. And if Bwippo gets counter pick and game 1 is anything to go off, we lose. So the logical answer is take red side and hope for a better draft that they can generate on the red side.
Yeah, you can see Leviathan stepping up. Zothvi looking a little dejected after that game, and Wide Bwippo just kind of Jim Halperting up the stairs, just like, yep, I mean, you blind Ambessa, you gave me my pick, and I did what I do best. And that was kind of all she wrote for that first game. It just stemmed from the draft response that then turned into advantage on the lane swapped bot side, into Dragon, into tempo on every objective, being the first to every play, into passive gold across the map, into fights being unwinnable. And it felt like that one moment just sealed the deal in terms of how impactful it was when the game actually came down to it.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that for Leviathan as well. The idea that them being the second seed and having ran through the majority of the CB teams, this will be a rude awakening, I think, because they got slammed. It was not really close for any of this game, and they've now met their maker, right? In the LTA South, pretty much every series went to 3 games. They were used to dropping a game, but I don't think Leviathan ever had a game quite like that, where they were so helpless for so
No.
long, and just sort of had to sit and watch themselves get murdered over and
Yeah.
over again.
Their early games had been one of the strongest parts of their game, contesting the LTA South teams. They had a very good set of game plans at that point, but today they just got outclassed in that arena, and we have to see what is going to be the answer now. Is FlyQuest going to have an answer of that power to everything that Leviathan wants to do? Are they going to be able to get a foothold in game number 2? Because if they have one, they still have the skills and the knowledge to follow through on that lead. We have seen that from them, but when FlyQuest are in their comfort zone and you play into their hands, this is what you receive. They have no mercy, they have no patience, and they just kind of school you.
Yeah, I mean that gold graph that you can see is kind of terrifying,
Yeah.
and paints every picture that we've been doing with words for the last 35 minutes. It was it was a defenestration, really, just absolute,
Yeah.
absolutely awful to
Yeah.
watch, but clinical at the same time.
Yeah, and we have to give credence where it's due. Well played to FlyQuest. We're going to go to a break for now. Once again, guys, for the last time today, shake it off, okay? Forget that game. It's in the past, right? The series is not done. And let's see if the LTA South can get some wins on the board to wrap up this first day of the playoffs. Don't go anywhere, everybody. We'll be back in just a few minutes. Welcome back, everybody. A little earlier, as the teams just could not wait to get into it again. Now, if you're FlyQuest, I get it. You probably had a lot of fun in that game. That was a pretty clean-cut win for them. Leviathan,
Unless you're Masu.
And maybe Leviathan just went into that back room and just went, that didn't happen. Okay, guys? Can we all agree that didn't happen? No one saw it, right? There's no evidence? Let's just go back and play game number 1.
Play game 1.
Yeah.
Except for some reason we're going to have to play game 1 again when we win this game. And then
best of 2 for the championship. Let's do it.
Yeah. But we can't lose either. And that's not great.
That's also true. But we simply won't.
I mean, we've timed it pretty well, I will say. We are straight into draft, and Leviathan have opted into the blue side once again. So they have a plan for Whippo, which is a good sign. Which is a great sign. More than anything, they need one. Trajan, I think, is the overarching theme of game number 1.
Everyone does, everyone thinks they do. Everyone thinks they have one, but many people don't really, as it turns out. And game 1 was a kind of an evidence of that, as they've gone for the first pick Ash. So this is quite a common first pick. It is a very, very dominating bot laner. It does give you utility as well as lane power. FlyQuest going into the Corki, a flexible, reliable carry option as their first response.
Yeah, that's a good point as well. That even though Corki has seen a little bit of a resurgence down in that bot side, it can just be played by quad in this mid lane, and offers FlyQuest that versatility moving into R5. And if they are going to relieve Bwipo of counterpick duty, oh my god, scary. Okay. Okay.
I don't know about that.
Go out in a blaze of glory, or don't go out at all. We're gonna see this game happen, and we've seen a true tank locked in on the top side that is going to be incredibly hard to dive. And we have locked in Nidalee, one of the champions that we would so frequently see just be the dive.
This is going to be one of the games of all time. This is going to be
it's going to be up
an
there.
Experience. I don't get it. Let's see what they're going to lock in. I mean, because normally you
prove us wrong.
Renekton.
Prove us wrong.
Is Renekton good into Cassante or
not really? It's not great.
Don't tell me that, Rude. It's not what I want to hear right now. I need copium. Okay, like copious amounts.
Sorry. No. Okay, so let me give you the cope. Okay. Renekton's not great into Cassante, but Zothri is so good versus Bwipo, right? That game 1 was a fever dream, and wasn't just top Canyon. So that's what we have. That's what we're going to be, totally, sipping on for this.
Yeah.
And I already see Lilia, which is again pretty decent versus Braum, pretty decent versus Nidalee, and I'm thinking FlyQuest have cooked a little bit harder, and maybe just that little bit better. Added in some seasonings, a little bit of spice to their mixture. Whereas Lev have gone for plain chicken breast and a little bit of broccoli so far.
Yeah, and just baseball pitching the food at the wall to try and kind of
and that's not in a pan, pan or anything. And then just to finish it off, instead of like a normal accompaniment, they've gone for cement as the sauce to try and round it all out.
Yeah.
So
second round of bans, they're trying to ban out kind of contesting support tanks for Busio. We'll see if he's unlocked this Pike in. That certainly, he's just done it.
Yeah, he did.
We saw a Corki Pike in the UK and Irish League on Thursday, and it looked really, really bad. But I think it's because the Pike had a really bad game. So maybe Busio is going to show us how it's actually done here. And now the cooking is getting a little more intense, that there is... There's herbs and spices have extended into a bit of an avant-garde mixture now.
Yeah, we're starting to throw some apples in with the savory mixture, and we're not sure if it's going to work yet, but somebody's told us in the past that you can do apple and pork together, and maybe that's something that can happen. I mean, Leviathan have rounded out the rest of their composition with a very stock standard front to back style, and then they've just YOLO'd in Italy.
Straight in there.
Quick little fastball down the center to see if FlyQuest were checking. Did you see that we snuck this one in? Have you spotted the Nidalee in this pick?
You think anyone noticed us do that? Maybe no one will call us on it, as we will see how this is going to play out. And this is just not even like a scary pick. I don't think I've ever seen him pick this. right? Like, to be
Yeah.
fair, in 2025, part of the scary narrative was him branching his pool out into things like Ivern that we hadn't seen from him before. And he's not just playing like Nocturne and Xin and Wukong are just playing like standard kind of bridges. He was playing a little bit more variety there, and he was doing well on the Zyra and showing us like a little bit more flexibility. He's now continuing that at an inopportune moment, I would say.
Yeah.
Or maybe.
This is, regardless, Trajan, this is going to be the biggest game of his split.
Yes.
Because he will either... yes. He will either play Nidalee and be the reason that Leviathan have taken this game, or he will play Nidalee and be the reason Leviathan have lost this game, because he's picked Nidalee instead of anything that can... well, let's just say it, do anything for the first little bit of time. And I am so happy for Scary to prove me wrong, for the record. I would love nothing more than Scary to come out of this game 9-1 and 9, have had a turbo game of just destroying FlyQuest, literally opening up their mouths and just thickly defecating down their throats. It would please me no end to see that happen.
Yeah.
I haven't seen... Game 1 didn't inspire that confidence in me.
No.
That's all I'm going to say.
Yeah, we have this karaoke bet with chat now for me. I would love to be forced to do karaoke if it's off the back of a Scary 9-1 and 9 Nidalee Giga Stomp. I will happily do so. No problems there.
I'm on the bus, mate. I'll come up as well. I'll say hello. We'll join in.
But I will say that I feel like the odds are with me now. That I may not have to do so. We'll see. We will both sit here as giant, massive, scary haters, I guess, in this instance, to go, please prove us and the entire globe wrong, because it's time to show us what you've got.
I will then be an
That's not the right scene. That ain't the scene. This is the scene.
Perfect. We're still on the screen, by the way. Take us off.
This is the actual scene. Now we're
There we
good.
go.
I am all out in a muddle after ever since that pick, man. My brain's been backwards.
That's all good. I mean, the Nidalee will do that to people. Okay, I was hoping for a 1-for-1. We are 0-for-1 on Spears so far, and that is the wrong end of the percentage. The wrong end of the percentage. However, I'm ready for Scary to prove us wrong again.
I'm ready for Scary. Everybody, we're all ready for Scary, okay? If we say it enough times, it will become true. This is what the self-help industry has taught me. So, we're all ready for Scary. They've got the deep wards going in, similar to last time. Both teams with those lanes warded to see if they can establish what is going to go on in this game. Of course, Cassante is one of the better champions at being weak-sided into that 1 versus 2. Plenty of defense, mobility, a little survivability, threat for 1v2 kills under tower as well. The Scary did at least hit the spear on the minion camp, which is, if you'd missed that, I would have turned the stream off. So I think we're okay.
It's a win, not just for Scary, but for all 40 viewers that are enjoying our coverage right now. Yeah. It's a big win that Scary landed that one, because it would have been ended very swiftly had that not been the case. To talk about how this lane might end up playing out, they should be looking to dive Whippo on 3 camps, whether that happens on 2nd or 3rd wave. I think that the way that the minions changed means that you kind of have to do it on 2nd now. And Zothvi is getting experience in the mid lane with Cody. The goal for Leviathan is to deny as much experience as possible from Whippo. Now, you can already see Busio channeling recall. He's going to look to get down to that bot side and prevent this dive, because it's not just Scary. Zothvi's on his way as well. They are so annoyed by Whippo from game 1. They are sending 4 people to dive him at level 1.
Okay, let's see. Observers, can we see bot lane, please? There it is. The dive is going. Scary is not tanking. Delta's tanking. They got the stun. They've got the first blood for Scary, and everybody walks away. Huge W for Leviathan.
It's very well played, and Busio's going to get a lot of solo experience here, but this is the Pyke getting solo XP. Finally, Whippo comes in. That's a wave that's already fully crashed under the turret, so whoever sticks around here is going to get an opportunity to pick up a really good wave state. ProDelta's base is the one that's cancelled. Is he going to be okay here? No flash, but gets himself out. Leviathan for now.
Yes.
Okay, we've done well.
Fair, this is like more successful plays than they had in game number 1 so far.
Yes.
They have had one. So
yes.
The
Entirely,
improvements
completely accurate.
are marked so far in game number 2. And they have managed to at least get some gold into Scary's Nidalee, so we'll see what he can do with it. Cody getting aggressed on by that Corki. Of course, the Gatling gun is a fearsome threat in the early game. No one can really stand up to it, to be honest, if he gets in range to use it. As Scary's now maybe going to run into Busio. On vision is the Pike, so they'll know it's coming. So the 2v2 they can maybe look to play out. The Bone Skewer is connected. Scody holding the flash, does drop it in the end. Pro Delta around the corner. The spear goes through the uprights as Inspired arrives to head this one off at the pass. Doesn't land the Q. Quad now getting the DPS down, and on a hook back onto Pro Delta. The Brom dashes back to safety. Leviathan will not lose any lives. Just about, but they will not be successful in this play in mid either.
But they will end up losing quite a lot of health bars. Now, that means that Pro Delta has gone back to base, walked out to mid lane, and will go back to base again. Now, he did show his face, and I think protected Cody and Scary well enough, so job done in the end. But Leviathan not quite able to continue their winning ways so well through the early stages. And what I will say as well is that for Zothvi, this should be a relatively winning matchup for the Gnar, especially in mini form. The Cassante can get bullied out. Difficult to try and itemize versus mini Gnar. The percentage health damage comes through as magic on his W, and obviously the rest of his damage is physical. So, good discussion points to be made for going for a little bit of armor early doors, and then, if you're looking at the rest of the Leviathan team, MR is going to go a long way versus Scary and versus Cody.
Yeah, absolutely. This is like, we saw the lane swap would avoid getting this value here, but they have managed to get the kill on Cassante, rotate Zothvi back into the matchup, so he's going to have a much better time than last game, where there was just nothing to do into that Volibear counter. As once again, we find the bot laners here, Magic up on top side. Pike Cook lands onto Bradelta, the shield goes up, not too much damage dealt, but Masu and Busio are able to control this lane decently well right now. The Ashe not finding as much dominance as it often does in these early stages.
Yeah, and I mean, the Braum this game, and this lane specifically, might be a little bit more difficult to try and navigate as Masu now in trouble.
Can we get the stun? Busio, they've got one tag onto him. If they can get that one down, the cleanse is forced out as well. And Masu, low but not down. Inspired, still working on the camp squad coming up the river. Leviathan will be aware of this. The spear drops Masu within an inch of going down. Q tags onto Busio. Another hook onto Pro Delta. This time the spear dodged up by the Pike. And FlyQuest are the ones having to give up a little space.
Means that Masu's going to have to recall underneath his turret and doesn't want to stick around for fear of another spear coming from Fog. Potentially a volley able to take him down, and Sayo with Flash could find a quick little combo underneath that turret. But even with that advantage going the way of Leviathan, gold now dead even. A little mid lane scuffle that we saw earlier on, favouring Quad in the long run as he goes back to base and decides that scaling is definitely the name of the game. Not just picking up a tier, but a cull as well. So very much gearing himself up for a mid-game spike.
Investing in long-term bonds here on Quad's Corki. We have seen the value that he gained from playing a nice, quiet, cool, and collected mid lane last game, farming up a storm on the Mel, and then dropping some nuclear ultimates in the later fights as well. So we know Fly can rely on Quad as the game stretches on. Cody, once again, struggling so far to have the same impact. Of course, the Azir, not a champion that lends itself to this the same way. His archetypes have not been quite as dominant in the 1v1. And we'll have to see if he's able to come out looking in a little better shape into those mid-game fights. Can maybe start offering a bit of the damage that he was able to offer in the domestic split. But so far, Leviathan has that one kill under their belt, keeping the gold relatively even. Grub Camp split as well, so no one has any purchase on the feet as of yet.
All right. Okay. An even game so far. And in fairness, Leviathan from game number 1 will absolutely take this spot in game number 2 as Quad takes a decent chunk there. Cody forcing out quite nicely, and the zoning control so far of this Braum means that they're going to secure this crab and at least have priority on that first dragon of the game. 2 grubs to 1, as you'd mentioned, so still waiting for that first epic monster to be completely out and out slain by either side. And looking at the items as well, for Masu, looks like he's working his way up towards that Yomu, so heading into what could be a relatively lethality-centric build for the Jhin.
Yes, absolutely. Zothvi trying to crash this wave in topside, still utilizing the Gnar to its best effect, and happy to report that Pro Delta's, Gentleman 001 scoreline has started to to change the fortunes of his most dedicated hater in chat, I'm silly, is starting to come around this time, okay? Now, we're liking what we see here, you know? It's just a matter of time. Pro Delta, he grows on you.
He does, and, you know, in fairness, I can see why there have been some
if that was
skeptical comments made
of seeing him. Then you'd be like,
yeah,
well, that wasn't a good baseline, was it? It's kind of.
I mean, he is also currently facing the wrong way.
Yeah, listen,
when we
all right,
pan down to bot lane.
Observers, can we not pan down there at that exact moment, please? Can we not do that? As now
cleanse.
Masu has to flash away. The 2v2 coming up big. Can Seo cleanse and get in range for the last? Autos comes in with a Q.
Oh, I love that.
There is the kill. The flashing from Busio trades it back nonetheless. But a 2v2 trade from Leviathan and Flying Bot.
Okay, and important, again, Busio gets the kill versus Seo getting the kill. And actually, Pro Delta, with a big flash there, flashes in front of the deadly flourish so that he tanks it. And so that Seo can step forward, find a kill, and put this Ashe a little bit further ahead.
And now Bwipo in the 1v2 has to flash and footwork to safety. Zothby catches the slow Scary. The spear just tickles the heels of the Cassante. Do they have to damage? Another sidestep from Bwipo. A dash in. Commits the ultimate. The tower shot to Massey. And Bwipo forces the trade again.
Okay, 1-for-1 this time, but again, this is very favourable for Leviathan because Zothby can walk into this top side, hopefully crash it as I say that. Curtain call opened up.
One slow landed, the second misses Zothby. They're really nowhere to go here. Does have some nice footwork, but Masu will eventually secure it. As Fly do catch them, taking a little too long on the back end of that play. But Feat of Warfare was still picked up by Leviathan with that extra kill they first had. So 1 feat under the belt. Still no more camps completed, but the grubs will be coming up soon. There is a dragon waiting as well. So no real advantages garnered by either side just yet.
Okay, and I'm looking at now my Ashes build path, and I do have calls for concern for Seo currently, because I'm not thinking that's going to be a Youmuu's for reference, but even still, I know that it's not a Blade of the Ruin King, and I'm looking at Cassante, and who's going to be killing the Cassante. It should be Seo. Now, we desperately need that Blade to be online. Kraken Slayer is not the tank shred item that it was of many patches ago, and for Seo, he may struggle as we move into the midst of this game.
Could be
even if it's a shiv, it's not good.
yeah, we're not happy about it either way. Scary starting at the scrub camp, has picked up one. The Pro Delta ult does not pick the right direction. Busio slides away into
You've muted your mic, good sir.
Bwipo on the rotation, jumps it back with the hook straight back over the wall. Masu,
and
though,
Scary's going to go down on that
Scary.
top side.
The first kill goes down to Leviathan. Matched now by Fly. The support falls. The rest of our LLA and Brazil squad. Big ult from Zothby gets them into the wall, and Cody slides in for the shuffle. Down comes the Lilia ult. Big damage can be fired back. Quad still doing the DPS. Scary will not survive. Bwipo takes one back. Seo, abandoned. Inspire takes him down. The ult from Cassante and FlyQuest turn it on its head. Cody looks for the trade, but Quad slips away with 1 hit remaining, and FlyQuest fight their way to safety.
Oh dear, it's so close to being good for Leviathan once again, but just not quite there. And it's almost reminiscent a little bit of that game number 1 where the fights were so close for a little bit, but then all of a sudden FlyQuest decide to turn it on and they just come out on top. A fight for the grubs. Leviathan find one of them once again, but FlyQuest probably going to be able to pick up these fellow 2. And again, with Drake still on the map, we'd like to see somebody work towards that at some point. As I'm going to once again remind you, Trajan, you are muted for me and I cannot hear you.
That might be... Yep, okay. Well, we should be back now, hopefully.
The stream could hear you. I couldn't. It was very scary.
Okay, well... God bless, I suppose. I guess it could have been worse, as the grubs were picked up by Leviathan there, so a camp picked up, and they're looking, maybe threatening a dive, but the minion wave comes in to block any projectiles. Cody dragged back, Quad is committing the damage, and now Leviathan are kind of forced to make something of this. Scary, with a chance to throw a spear, does not take it, and FlyQuest retreat away from the top lane. Leviathan will be able to pick up some plates up here, but Bwipo working on the same in bot.
Okay, so... I'm not out of this game by any means, Leviathan, at this point, and unfortunately for myself, the scary 919 dream is now gone. Could be 929, but he has found a second death this game, which was not in the playbook. And
No.
FlyQuest 2K to the good. Again, we're starting to see some slipping from Leviathan. Their first 5 minutes looked really good. 10 minutes, yeah, okay, solid. But then the first real fight came to bear, and FlyQuest came out on top. And I will say as well, I don't hate the Leviathan composition as we get later. I think the poke from Nidalee, the help with volley, get a little bit of slowdown maybe to land those spears, can be pretty big. And it's also worth mentioning that Pyke in the late game just sucks, right? He's really good if he's ahead, but if the game's quite neutral like this, not a great champ.
Sayo cannot connect the ultimate. Prodelta will at least force a flash with an ult of his own, but the dragon picked up there by Fly uncontested. So the Fly Masu able to walk away without too much of a problem there. But it is unfortunate for Leviathan. They were at least, they didn't just get instantly countered kind of professionally by FlyQuest, who just had the answer to their game plan and walked it through to a victory. They were able to find a dive on bot. They were able to find positive fights early on in those first 10 minutes, and they've not just succumbed to Fly instantly. They actually forced Fly to kind of right their own ship and fix a problem that Leviathan had presented, which is just not something we saw at all in game number 1. So it is already a massive step forward. We have still wound up with Fly comfortably in the lead with Inspired Lilia 3-0-2 and Quad 1-0-3, which is a terrifying prospect, but progress is progress.
Yeah, you say, right, that FlyQuest had to right their own ship. It took, it was very, very simple and relatively easy for them to have done so, which is a little bit of an issue, obviously. But Zothvi, I think, can be a bit of a win condition for Leviathan this game. I'm glad that we get a little bit of focus on him. He just needs to find a recall. As soon as he gets that Trinity Force, will just turn on to a completely different champion. Gnar, such a Triforce champ. You hit that first item and you spike so hard with it that you can start to try and dictate how this 1v1 plays out, and hopefully starts to play out in your favor. Start to try and take some turrets, take a little bit of gold back as well, and really start to force the issue on this Cassante.
Leviathan happy to sit back and just take a breath here at the 15-minute mark. Plates are done. Bwipo and Inspired linking up again to force Zothvi off this bot lane turret. Not much to be done by Leviathan about that one. It will be first turret feet going over to FlyQuest inevitably here. And it will be one apiece, leaving it down to Epic jungle camps. One apiece right now. As Leviathan might be under threat from FlyQuest. They are committing resources to protect this tower. They don't simply want to take a time removed trade. They want to hold on to that gold themselves entirely.
All right. And Bwipo burns the teleport to do that. And I mean, with that in mind, you'd like to think he's probably going to head in and try and take that turret for himself in that top lane as well. As now attention turns toward this mid lane, Sayo with ulti, but not really in a position to try and find that engage. With Masu having cleanse, there's only so much that you can expect to get away with.
Masu dinging at level 11 right there. Those Jhin shots are going to really start to hurt with a Youmuu's coming through the lethality build for the Jhin. You don't see it as often these days, but does give you a heck of a lot of firepower on those early spikes with another serrated dirt too. So those squishies, Scary, Cody, Sayo, if they get tagged by these Jhin shots, it is going to hurt from a long way away. Scary, again, onto that topside camp, starting up the Herald, trying to secure this all-important second or third jungle camp. I guess it would just be the second for them, so it's not even going to get them defeat. They can't give it away if they don't want to. As FlyQuest now stepping forward with Inspired, but they are making a cautious approach. Prodelta camping out in the brush, waiting for a chance to catch someone.
So Masu's going to have first push in mid lane, and FlyQuest make the call that this fight around the Herald, not for them. They back away, going to find themselves getting Prodelta's ulti for a little bit of style points, more so than anything else, as Busio's able to phantom undertow his way to safety.
Yeah, well, we're not counting missed ultimates, we're only counting missed Qs, so that doesn't matter, actually. It's actually not important.
What about the Q he missed before that?
No, I didn't see it, so it didn't happen, as the Jhin ult has landed all the shots. Zothvi, one last chance for redemption here, does get the flash away and dodges the fight stun. And Prodelta's here to survive. Zothvi almost walks back into Deadly Flourish, but he skips away alive.
All right. I'll take that. Zothvi, again, I mean, as much of an unsung hero as you can be when you get bodied in game number 1, played pretty well, was the one taking Masu out, and I think this is disastrous for Cody.
Yeah, Whippo's not really taking
Dodges
damage right
Q.
now. He's holding his flash and his ult. Cody going in fact, and
Oh, yeah, that
does
was
he
not
have
the
the
play.
shuffle? He's flashed away. He's holding it as long as he can, and the
He's
tower doing a lot
doomed.
of work. Herald now splitting FlyQuest focus into the mid lane, a TP up from Gnar, just to make sure that Whippo knows not to continue this one. Hook onto Scary, dashes away from the Jin W. Pro Delta looking for an angle, but Fly will step away.
Okay. So Cody got away to safety, retroactive term, as he didn't die on that top side. Looks like Zothvi burned his teleport to save the Azir and make that happen. And Zothvi now, I think, again, with a really solid play on that bot side, needs to now accelerate that into being able to take fights up against Whippo, who I think has given, 2 items now to, or rather a second item, to magic resist. That ideally means that you can find some semblance of a fight, but Whippo lurking.
Posted up in the brush. Busio there as well. Corki coming up here. Got some damage. Forces the flash. Busio already eliminated, but the tower shots are doing some work. In comes the Corki now to offer the damage. Whippo dropping a little bit low. He's going to go down eventually for Delta. No, he doesn't have the damage to make it work.
He's just a braum.
Abandoned beyond the tower. Zothvi and Cody running for the hills. The turret survives as well.
Yeah, and Cody, he uses his teleport there, but doesn't get anything from it. Defense of the tier 2 turret on that top side, very well executed by Whippo and Busio. Yes, Busio ends up going down, but the Cassante quad there as well. Able to do enough to defend it, and Seo, unfortunately, not even able to take down this tier 1 as a bit of a response. Leviathan, though, giving something back this game. And I think that that's worth highlighting, that they aren't just slowly getting chipped away at into nothingness. Yeah. There is some form of bite in this game.
Yeah, it does feel less controlled than their normal wins in the LTA South, and it's a bit more, as we say, of the baseball pitching of unseasoned chicken into the wall.
Yeah.
But they have managed to land a couple of decent strikes with that unseasoned chicken, and they've now got 7 kills to their name. They are still losing kind of ground here, but they're able to take some towers. They've got plenty on the map, like gold, that they can pick up in mid, bot, and top lane. Towers that are ripe for the picking if FlyQuest abandon them. The Atakan coming up right now. Scary is just ripping it on spawn. This is wild.
Yeah, I mean, in fairness, to continue the metaphor here, they've at least found the oven. They know where they're looking for in order to cook in the right way. They've not yet opened it, turned it on, or got anything in, but they know where they're going.
We have sent 3 people into a possible problem right here. They're pitched away from the Atakan right now, which does reset, and the Jin ult doesn't get too much purchase there, so FlyQuest commits the TP, starts it up, but there is a possibility for a retake as Leviathan stick around in the river. Whippo leaving early to try and push them back. Knock up from Brodel to get some decent DPS down. The Cassante under threat and actually falls to the Zothvi Gnar. And now FlyQuest in a bit of a tricky situation, 4 versus 5, and they peel back themselves. Leviathan pick up the Atakan Inspired, throwing down those bowling ball. Still has ults to offer. Zothvi goes mega. He's not going to last forever. Another reset for Atakan.
I think reset this. You've got inside track on mid lane. Take your win. Take the tier 1 turret that you can fall back to in the mid lane. But Leviathan, not really looking for that at this time. I think a little bit of a missed play. They could have taken that kill, walked their way back down to that mid side, generated just a small advantage, but instead, they get a kill, right? And I think that taking down Whippo, gonna feel pretty good for them, that they can set up in these front-to-back team fights, and weirdly enough, the fact that Zothvi was mini ended up benefiting them in the 5 versus 5, because he's got that little bit of extra range, he's got the percentage health damage, and was able to contribute to taking up Whippo, who just stood channeling W and tanking Azir, Ashe, and Gnar.
Masu has the 4 shot there, doesn't have to to hold on the flash and cleanse, not force the burn one by a Seo ultimate as Whippo around the corner waiting to head off any unwanted aggression. And Leviathan do simply take the win. They haven't found those turrets still, but yeah, we did manage to see that, Masu and Quad, and no one really wants to step up behind Whippo too close because they will put themselves in range of a Brom Q, of a Flash Gnarl, of a Cody Shuffle. They have to play against that long-range threat that Leviathan has, and it did leave Whippo a little bit out to dry in that fight. Suffering on the front line, you can see he's going into a lot of magic resist as well, so Zothvi and Seo particularly effective at this point in the game.
Yeah, and that's kind of why I wanted to highlight the fact that Seo's build is, again, not the best for killing Cassante. If we look at the rest of the team, yes, it's going to do work, but that means that Cody's the one who has to deal with him. And fair enough, Nash is 2 Flyandries. He's got the tools to do it.
Seo has to flash away. Pro Delta has to try and cover for this one. The damage is massive, and Bwipo
good sleep.
could look to damage from the side. It's a wonderful sleep, and both bot laners for Leviathan full. Cody on the flank, caught in no man's land. Just like that, Fly collapsed for a beautiful 3 kills.
And seemingly out of nowhere, FlyQuest re-emerge victorious. They're going to take the Atacon now. That buff's going to be live for when they go to the Dragon, when they go to the Baron that spawns in 1 minute 40. And just after Leviathan have found a small silver lining, FlyQuest just destroy them in a team fight.
Yeah, after so long it took to build up those minor wins to try and keep the gold close enough to stable for them. It takes just 1 second for FlyQuest to put it all in the dirt. 6k the lead. Voracious Atacon, you can see it on the gold graph. Just Leviathan barely holding on by their fingernails, stopping FlyQuest from accelerating too hard, but it just fell off a cliff.
Yeah, I mean, we need to see really a little glimpse of a replay of more so how that started. If it's just a contest over vision or Seo getting pincered on there, because that's really what it felt like, where he's, got Quad coming in from one side, Marsu from the other, and, flanking AD carries of all things aren't what you expect to be the reason that a fight goes down, especially onto another AD carry. Now with this Atacon, we'll get to see them be very aggressive, and I imagine Bwipo take even more spaces. Just 1 minion needed. They're able to take down the tier 1 turret. Now the question is, how much more do they get?
FlyQuest peeling back. We'll see what they want to rotate for. Looks like that Baron pit, or Baron vision, at least around the river, might be the focus. Simply just stretching back. In fact, splitting towards the Dragon. They're just going to take control of that map. FlyQuest settling back into a comfortable rhythm. We saw they were not ones to be rushed with the lead in game number 1, but Quad is absolutely cooking Zothby there. W's away from the Gnarl and heads back to the safety of his team.
Yeah, it's on a nice 120 and put on for 20 minutes. That was really well played by Quad. Keeps himself, nice and safe, dodging away with the Valkyrie. And now on this top side again, Cody versus Bwipo. We've seen this one before, but this time there's a Busio in the wings.
He's allowed to step away under the safety of the Sun Disc. As Leviathan focusing on that Baron River vision instead. FlyQuest moving to Ocean Soul Point. 5 minutes before they can fight for that one again. And now we'll see what their attempt is going to be. Are they going to just contest over the Baron vision? Remember, this Atacon buff does not last forever. We've not seen them find a massive fight over it, but given the risks of losing the buff being greater than they used to be, instead just maybe using it more like a Baron buff to use as a threat to push waves and to kind of passively force your opponent off things can still be a valuable use of it.
Yeah, and I think they're going to use it to probably try to start up this Baron. They've taken the outer turrets, they've taken, the outer turrets, they've taken inner in bot lane as well. Looking for too much more doesn't seem like how they are playing the pacing of this game, as Zothby takes a big chunk after standing on a Jin trap.
Delta got hooked back, but makes it back to safety. Masu will help to clear out this wave. Bwipo shepherding in, defending the backline, as Leviathan simply hope to clear out these waves and maybe step forward. This mid tower is lasting so long. FlyQuest coalescing around it to keep that passive gold out of Leviathan's hands, to keep them falling further and further behind.
Yeah, Masu stepping forward on this Jin. Hold on, Cody.
Shuffles Quad back into the turret and escapes to safety. Both the mid laners looking a bit worse for wear. Inspired, not enjoying the fight with Zothby, as the other side is exploding as well. And Seo has been caught out by Bwipo, finished off by Masu, and FlyQuest. Again, they come out on top.
A massive headshot to the back takes down Seo, and now Masu opens up onto Zothby, who gets behind the Braum and gets out of the range.
The turret toppling down still. FlyQuest, they have a Baron to peel back if they want to. Seo the only death, but still a 4v5 that FlyQuest might be happy to take. They used a lot of ultimates in that play, and it looks like, again, they are going to take the reserve path. They'll call the reset, they'll go back, set it up again, wait for those all-important keys to be active.
Yeah, I mean, it took them 35 minutes to win game 1 when they were never really behind, and in a game where there's been a lot more give and take. Can you imagine that FlyQuest probably going to spend a little bit more time doing their due diligence? They're very methodical when they look to try and close out these games, never giving really much of an inch to Leviathan in game number 1. This time round, Leviathan tried to pry open the door a little bit, find themselves a couple of ways into this game. Ways that FlyQuest have successfully and succinctly managed to shut down. It's Busio on this bot side of the fight, starting the proceedings onto Scary, who then baits in Seo, who just walks into the face of Whippo, really, and, takes far too much liberty with the space he could take.
Yeah, it was a bit of a tough one. More of the issues that plagued Seo at Worlds when Pain were able to fight their way past them in a very, very close series to qualify for groups. Ashult firing up to top lane, lands squarely on the chin of Quad, and Cody's going to get some time to do some DPS, but TPs are now flying in. Lovely flash away from the shuffle, and Quad able to win this DPS race. Cody goes golden, but the Pike ult is ready for it. Zoffy looks to finish off Busio. Flash in from Scary will surely find the Pike eventually, as Whippo in the 3 versus 1 is doing what he can. A flash away from Seo doesn't necessarily get him to safety just yet. The Jin ults landing and slowing the front line of Leviathan. Pro Delta flashes to safety, and now FlyQuest piling in more members. Inspired over the wall, looking for an opportunity, coming to cut them off at the pass. Leviathan are finding themselves in a bit of a tricky spot right now, as Zoffien gets the stuns they needed a way out, and maybe Nar just gave them one. They'll find the kill onto Whippo, and now Quad and Inspired have to be careful.
They find one, but trying to get out, it's still not easy. There are 3 carries for FlyQuest, guarding the way out to safety. But Quad and Inspired, they back away. And actually, Leviathan, they fight their way out of the tight spot.
They managed to keep this one going for just a little longer. They'll pump the recalls, they'll pump the brakes, as objective bounties have now hit the rift. This was the plan all along, Roodood. Wait, fall behind enough for the massive comeback potential, maximum momentum.
Oh, it's not going to be easy, Trajan. It's certainly not going to be easy. But we get to see glimpses of what this Leviathan squad are capable of. And what got them to being second seed in LTA South as well. Their ability to just find these fights and almost Loud-esque in their ventures, really, where they have no right taking these fights or being anywhere near close, and they have no right starting up this Baron, for reference.
Speaking of things they have no right to do, Leviathan, 5 stack on the Baron, calling for the flip, asking FlyQuest to try and find the answer. The Ashot goes wide, Inspired's in range, down it goes, and Scary does get it with the bounty attached, but can they get out of this fight looking okay? They get a kill to Busio, but Zoffy does not survive the engagement. Cody trapped in the pit, likely not to survive either. Whippo commits the ultimate. The Azir ultimate gets nothing. Scary finds another, and now is the last buff standing. Pops the recall to scurry back to base.
Well, they get the bot lane and they get the Baron. Again, if FlyQuest are going to win this game, they would have loved to have done it with the Baron. The issue is that now they've got to try and do this when FlyQuest are going to have Ocean Soul. That is live and that will be taken, barring some act of miracle from Scary, as he, tries to defend his mid lane. Not going to be able to do that. The Drake's Soul will be picked up by FlyQuest. I mean, Leviathan, they buy themselves another 5 minutes, but look at that power play. They're down or up 300 gold, which means really they're down 1,200 already.
Yeah, it is. It's band-aids on band-aids for Leviathan that keep themselves limping forward as we see a replay of that Baron scuffle.
Yeah, and really, the Baron's at 200 HP for a little bit, so Smite Secure or whatever it is that secures it, it's Scary that picks it up regardless. And Marsu, again, finds himself just a little too close to too much damage as he gets nailed by a spear, and Scary manages to find him and take him down. But on the other side of that fight, Whippo just far too tanky in the front line, and Seo, takes one auto attack from the Corki, loses half his HP, loses another one, and, takes all of his health as Pro Delta now caught out, has got Seo to jump back to.
The knockups are there, but Fly are relentless, hunting him down. Seo tries to get to safety as well. Where's the team to help him out? Gets away from the E, but not the Q. And now the Pike comes in. It's no execute, but it's enough to seal the deal. And this time it's Leviathan's bot lane hitting the dirt. They still have the Baron empowered waves, but Math but Fly are bearing down on the Nexus.
And just too far forward there, Pro Delta. There's no reason for you to really ever leave your base, let alone be trying to touch vision in the river. Leviathan are going to lose their inhibitor in the mid lane, maybe even a little bit more.
One inhibitor's going to fall. Whippo shepherding in that top wave. Looks like FlyQuest will be happy to rotate for it for now. And instead just go by the book as they have always done. They have never been baited into the trenches to getting down in the dirt with Leviathan. They have stuck to their guns and remained consistent. And they will take 2 inhibs. They will back away as the shuffle comes in for Whippo. But it's like Asante that really doesn't care that much with the Ocean Soul. And Cody maybe going a little bit desperation right there. Gives his life up.
And I think so far, Zothi has been maybe their best port of call for an engage, waiting for the Gnar to go in, maybe just going to be the better play. But with Mega running out, FlyQuest turn their attention now down toward this bot side, and you'd be forgiven for thinking that they were the team that took the Baron, because they've taken 2 inhibs inside the enemy's base. But this is all against Baroned up pushed waves from Scary. FlyQuest don't even need to walk to this bot lane turret for it to fall. They will do to speed up the process, but Lever stuck underneath their Nexus turrets.
Third inhib falls, quad W forward aggressively. The hooks come through. FlyQuest want to wrap this one up right now, 33 minutes in, to put the double stamp on this series to wrap up another 2-0 for the LTA North. Again, though, they will pull back and they will wait to deliver a final crushing blow.
So 2.5 minutes until the next Baron spawns, and for FlyQuest here, you'd like to think they can just walk in those super minions and finish this job off. They are so far ahead, 11,000 gold going to be their lead. It's probably going to shrink a little bit here as Leviathan are going to get triple stacked double super minion waves, which, you know, if left unattended, can give away back into the game for Leviathan, but that's like left unattended for 5 minutes and FlyQuest turn off their PCs for that long, type left of unattended. But expectation is that just walking through this mid lane and putting in the smallest amount of pressure, I mean, clearing these waves is going to be tricky enough for Leviathan. 5 members of FlyQuest with an Ocean Soul backing them up should make it impossible.
Super minions starting to march forward into the Leviathan base, supported by these powerful teammates. Ocean Soul wearing, 10k gold having. This is a very tall order for Leviathan. Zothi hanging out just below the mega threshold. Could look to threaten. FlyQuest wearing all 5 of their flashes will be waiting ready for Leviathan to throw that last desperation punch.
Yeah, and Zothi most likely going to look to use his flash to get in there, and even at that point, just waiting out this Mega Gnar is going to be all that FlyQuest need to do as quad.
Again, with the classic engage, does let Zothi get into range with the stun, but where's the damage to follow it up? Leviathan are scrambling forward. They find the stun, but there's the shield, there's the heal. Scary goes golden, but finds the shutdown. Leviathan open with the first kill, but they've managed to drive themselves out of their own base. And FlyQuest, they only need the 4 to get this job done and put the final nail in LTA South's coffin for day number 1. 4-0 LTA North walk away, feeling happy, feeling proud, with all the power and momentum going into second day of playoffs. It has been a pretty dark day 1 for us here in LTA South, everybody. We can't deny that. But props to FlyQuest for putting up another great series.
Yeah, FlyQuest there 2-0, and 100 Thieves to start off the day as well with a solid 2-0. Also, Pain Gaming not having the best of outings themselves, and I mean, for this time now, FlyQuest, they should feel very happy with themselves. They got into a really good position, managed to find their way back into this game. And yeah, this time round, they had to fight for game number 2 as a victory, but fight they did. And they put themselves right on the map, put themselves where they needed to be at the right times, and closing out the game as methodically as we've so frequently seen as well.
Yeah, FlyQuest happy with their performance here today. As we say, not the start to the season that many expected for them, but they have come into the playoffs looking hungry and ready to carry the flag of LTA North very powerfully. The fans in the audience would have loved to have seen that. A very, very strong performance. And the usual, they will be getting the Whippo interview, and we'd have it no other way. So, Leviathan are out for this after this first round of single elimination. Still a very impressive domestic split for them. International or cross-conference play was a hurdle that they could not get over today. And looking back at that second game particularly, we did see a lot more, I think, out of Zothi in particular, was managing the Gnar very well, was finding good engages, was showing, you know, where the value comes out of that top side. And the Scary in Italy, I'm going to say it was pretty good.
Yeah, it wasn't awful. Wasn't the reason they lost, right? And that's the win that we're looking for. I mean, Zothi, I think maybe the player of the series for Leviathan, which, again, not saying a right lot, but is saying enough for me. I think that Zothi was did what he could in these games, and you can argue maybe he could have pushed his advantage of Gnar versus Cassante that little bit more. But overall, very much happy with the way that we got to see Zothi in these team fights, where he's, you know, diving onto the Varus as Cassante, Varus as the Ambessa, where he's also, you know, finding these engages on the Mega Gnar to get his team out of a tight spot. For a rookie player in the LTA South, that's a big play, and those are big moments that we can look to see improved upon in future splits.
Yeah, for sure. A solid foundation to build on. And we did see plenty of good from Leviathan over their first split here in the LTA South, so they can go away, I think, with some decent highlights and decent memories and decent platforms to build on. So for the LTA South, we now have to look forward to tomorrow, which will be TL versus Isurus Estral and Loud versus C9. So
yes,
we still have hope. We still have room to breathe right here. I personally predicted that only Isurus Estral would advance from LTA South. Sadly, that is currently true. And we will see if our number 1 seed can start to turn things around for us.
That's the hope. Isurus Estral, like you say, they are the hope more than anything else. I think that Loud versus C9, I think that's a matchup that we've seen internationally before. Whether or not it's a matchup that we've seen successfully internationally before, a completely different story.
No, it is quite a different C9 with now Thanatos, Loki, Sven. I think 3 out of 5 players are different from where we were when it was Loud. And on Loud, it's no longer Croc, it's now Wiz. It's no longer Seos, it's now Winsome. So there is a different landscape there, and Loud certainly do feel like quite a different team than they were, and so does C9, who again are still strong, but not quite up at that maximum level that they used to be as an organization. So it should be an interesting one. And yeah, Isurus Estral versus TL should be a fun one as well. A lot of interesting dynamics there. We will get more into that tomorrow, though. We will be back streaming here again to cover those series as usual. So thank you, everyone, for sticking with us. We know there is also already an English broadcast, but we wanted to do it anyway because we like to support the region, and we thank you for supporting us here today, even as brutally scuffed as the stream has been compared to our normal high standards. I think we will have Rose back tomorrow, so
they are scheduled to be back.
Yeah, so never fear, everybody. They will be here to at least make it look and sound better than it did today.
Yeah,
even if the results might still be a bit tough.
On the old eyeballs, yeah.
Yes, that is a bridge that we will cross when we come to it. So for now, thank you, everybody. Thank you, Roodood, for joining me here today. And we will see you all back here, hopefully, same time tomorrow as the LTA playoffs continues.